What up, what up, what up, everyone? It is debate night. I am starting early just because I was sitting here and I was done my dinner and Nick went live and I was like, well, why not? Why not? Who do we got here tonight? Who's ready for a debate night? Who brought the beer? I brought beer. Did you guys buy beer? I got. Nick is doing some commentary right now. We'll definitely tune in to see what he has to say. I've also got the typical cable news channels pulled up to see to do a little pre-debate check-in. I will be drinking Pumpkin tonight. For my money, Southern Tier Pumpkin is the very best pumpkin beer that you could buy every fall. My husband picked me up a 4-pack of them earlier today. It is an 8.6% alcohol content imperial pumpkin, and it tastes just like pumpkin pie, and it is a little dangerous. But you have cinnamon whiskey? That sounds good. I've never had cinnamon whiskey. I only like peanut butter whiskey. I've never had any whiskey I like that's not peanut butter whiskey. I got my mixed berry cider. That sounds great. I was actually thinking about doing a cider selection tonight, MacB, and then my husband was going to the store and he's like, Carlin, you just want me to buy the beer for you? And I was like, yeah, just give me some pumpkin. Just give me some pumpkin. And check it out. I have my pumpkin snifter as well. So we're going high class. High class tonight with our 8.6% alcohol content. Delicious, incredible, glorious pumpkin beer. For this glorious occasion, might be the only presidential debate we get. Well, we actually already got one, but might be the only debate between Trump and Kamala. I don't really care who wins. I hate both of them equally. Cheers, everyone. Happy debate night. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Listen, I really mean it. You're not going to be able to get this beer for much longer. And if you have to go to your craft beer store, especially if you're in the Northeast, and I know they sell it other places too, but like, get this. It's so fucking good. It is so good. All right, guys. Well, we're not really doing a whole bunch of period. Jennifer will be joining me at some point. Jennifer has the link, and I started a little bit early, so we can forgive Jennifer for not being here because I started early and I didn't tell her I was starting early. But Jennifer will be joining us at some point tonight. Nick is talking about something. Is he talking about anything interesting? No, Nick is talking about women or something. I was hoping he would do a rant about Candace Owens, if I'm honest. I was like, and I called it earlier. You remember what I said? I was like, why the fuck is Nick going live that early? Because like the debate doesn't start until 9. So why is Nick going live at 7 o'clock? Like that's not very Nick. And apparently, so it was 7 o'clock my time. He was supposed to go live. It was 6 p.m. his time, and I was like, "What's going on?" And yeah, sure enough, Nick thought the debate was an hour earlier than it actually was. So that's why that's why he went live early. So he's basically been doing commentary. I've been kind of listening to it as I was eating my dinner and stuff. But I kind of want to check in with the folks over at MSNBC. Does anyone want to do a little MSNBC watch party to see what they have to say? It's kind of like watching MSNBC is like peering in to another dimension. It's crazy. And the same thing, we can bounce back and forth. We can look at CNN, we can look at Fox News. Let's just see what's going on in the land of leftist lunacy that is MSNBC. Not socialist lunacy, but progressive and shilly Democratic Party
is both a little nauseating and sounds kind of derisive, but it's neither. It's become a sort of term of art in politics.
Rachel
it's the
Maddow.
room, or in this case, the cavernous site where people who aren't the candidates themselves go before and after the debate to do interviews and talk to reporters about what the candidates are going to do or have just done in that debate. In the spin room tonight in Philadelphia, among the very high-profile supporters and elected Democrats who are there on behalf of Kamala Harris, is our next guest, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who is standing by right now in Philly with Alex
Gavin
Wagner.
Newsom.
Over to you, Alex.
Hello, Gavin Newsom.
Thanks, Rachel. I just want everybody at home to
Gavin
know,
Newsom
for Truth and Journalism, I'm on a booster
jealousy.
seat right now. There's no way I'm even approaching the governor's
set up even more then.
Yeah, thanks for that.
That's right.
Governor,
tonight.
I think we all remember at the convention, you took Vice President Harris over the top and officially nominated her on the floor. It was an exciting moment for California. I know you have a long history with the Vice President. Can you talk a little bit about how, what your expectations are for tonight from someone who's on the biggest stage, arguably of her political life, but has been, making the argument for a while?
Well, I mean, in the frame of expectations, and I don't want to overstate, but I don't want to understate, I have great expectations because I've seen her up close. I've been at those debates that people have seen game tape on. They've seen videos on. I was in the room. I've seen her underestimated, particularly, dare I say, with men.
Yeah.
I've seen her capacity to get under their skin. I've seen her capacity.
Let me see what you guys think. I'm going to put a poll in the chat.
This is not just a thing to say. Prosecute the case,
Yeah.
whatever that case
We're gonna
may
do a
be,
proper poll.
both against the candidate, but also prosecute the case for the future. So I think we're going to see
win
both and tonight. I think she's going to be tough. I don't think she's going
Kamala?
to sit back and take it from Trump. I think she's going to give plenty, but I also think she's going to
Let
be
me know
talking
who
about
you
you.
think will win
She's
the
going to be
chat-
talking
in the
about me,
chat.
the people watching at home.
I don't know.
You bring up the sort of gender piece of this, which I think is worth talking a little bit about, because in the last debate that you and I both attended, which was featured President Biden and Donald Trump, Trump was kind of self-contained to a large degree.
To be clear, that poll is about the debate, not about the presidency.
He was spreading disinformation, but he was not as aggressively mendacious as
Because
he has
didn't need
been.
to be. He didn't need to be. He had someone, he had a different person on the other side.
Yeah.
And
He
if
almost talked about
President
his
Biden
mental
took it to him,
faculties.
he's thin-skinned. He's weakness
Yeah.
masquerading as strength.
Tonight's episode of
This is a
Disrage has
fragile
been replaced
guy.
with
He's a
has been
broken
replaced
person.
with rage.
I mean, really is. And as a consequence of
True.
that, he's incredibly vulnerable to
Thank you,
reverting
Naruto.
to
Appreciate
who he really is, which is someone that doesn't necessarily feel worthy and is trying to overcompensate. And I think that's easily exploited. He's easily manipulated, and he's easy and prone to get off message. And I think that's why I think she has the opportunity to be particularly effective tonight, because I don't think she's going to be timid. I don't think she's going to overdo it, but I think she will take that prosecutorial mindset.
You're here.
And I'll tell you what, Kamala Harris will show up tonight.
I started early. It wasn't a slight at you. I just started early because I was sitting here and I was bored.
That's fine.
How are you tonight, Jennifer?
I'm good. I'm having a nice day. It's been a good day. I've been productive. I even adulted.
Oh, wow. Adulting. How does that even work anymore?
I don't do it very often. So, yeah, but I really forced myself. I took a mental health day yesterday because we just got back from vacation, and I picked up Phelan's ashes today. And so it's like, okay, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm actually in a really nice mood. It's beautiful and stormy outside and feeling good.
Good. Hang on. That'll fix it. Well, are you the most important question to ask Jennifer is, hang on, is my video's back. The most important question to ask is, are you drinking tonight?
Oh my heavens. Girl. All right, so I got Now I have been trying to like dry out a little bit because we drank a lot on our trip. So, but today I think it merits it. So I got a little blue Kona wave here, Kona big wave.
Okay.
I have it. Yeah, I have some felony rum.
Okay.
And I've got some iced tea, and then and I have special things I got just for tonight. Of course, I've got my little flag. But then I got this just for tonight. This is Panic Pete.
Oh.
I've always wanted one of these. I finally got one.
Perfect.
Although he doesn't really ploop out. I thought he'd ploop out more.
I think it's pretty good.
Just gotta remember them being more exaggerated. Okay, so that's for stress, and then I got thinking putty.
You got thinking putty? Is that like slime?
Well, it's a little denser than slime. This is scarab colored.
That's a color. That's a pretty color.
Crazy Aaron's thinking putty.
Does it make pop sounds?
It does.
Yeah, pop
it's
sounds.
It's very rubbery. I just got it, so it's like really rubbery, and like you can bounce it. You can make a little ball and it'll bounce.
Oh.
And you can sculpt with it, and then you can, if you want to tear it apart, you can. But I just like to kind of squish it, and I like to make things don't look like penises at all with it.
You know, slime, when you keep playing with slime for a while, it dehydrates the slime because I guess your hands pull all the moisture out of it. And so it actually does get like really thick after a while. Just pro tip.
Okay.
Slime can turn into putty at some point.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's technically not slime. So whenever it dries out, I'm sure I wanted to get some slime, and I will. But I love the colors in this because it's so beautiful.
I love the colors. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the sunlight, you'll even see some golds and some copper. And it's like pulling taffy, and it makes me really, really happy. And it doesn't get stuck to anything.
I understand. I understand completely. I understand. Well, I'm drinking pumpkin tonight. So got some nice high alcohol content beer. So we're just doing a little pre-gaming. I've got MSNBC up. I've also got Nick up.
I had to tell you, I thought of you. We went to a pirate themed bar in Knoxville, and the bartender gave me a peanut butter and jelly beer.
Was it delicious and delightful? Yeah, it was delightful,
God.
Wasn't it? Yeah, it was good.
I could have taken a bath in that. Yeah, that was so good.
There are some really good peanut butter and jelly beers. Like some of the ones I have there. I mean, it's just like it is out of this world incredible. It really is. It's like nice and creamy and thick, and you can really taste the peanut butter, and then you get the sweetness with the jelly, and it's just so good. And they usually tend to be a higher alcohol content too. So like you get drunk, but you don't taste alcohol. You just taste goodness.
Yes. Oh, it was wonderful. I was surprised at how I could taste the layers of flavor. Like the jelly and the peanut butter, and even almost like toasted bread in the, it was the weirdest experience. Like, this is not supposed to be a thing. How does this happen? What is your magic?
Listen, man, beer has come a long way. Beer is its own craft now. Some people are getting real. There's a lot of sucky beers out there, but there's also just a lot of like really finely crafted beers that I appreciate. All right. Well, let's see. Let's check in and see. Gavin Newsom's been talking here for a minute. Let's see what he has to say.
This is a huge challenge, but I have all the confidence, back to your opening question, that she's up for the challenge.
All right.
Yeah, Kamala's definitely up for it. Yeah.
It is great to hear perspective, some words of wisdom as we head into a consequential night in American politics. Back to you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you, Governor. Troy, on that last point that he just
Here's
made,
what I
he said
want.
he may
MSNBC
not,
commentary.
He may lose people in our audience by saying
Especially
it, but
from
he
this.
essentially said,
Oh,
he mixed his delivery of himself. Alex got him to clarify that by that.
Joy
he
Reid
means
looks like a
he's
cloud.
boring.
My
He
two
says
favorite
Trump
people
used to
are
be,
even
in his
sitting right
political
next to
career,
each other.
entertaining,
Look at her
but
makeup.
now
What is
he's
wrong
so
with her?
self-referential that he actually
Wow.
can't hold a tune.
That's so
Like he
much. I
he
feel like I
can't
need to take a
follow
picture.
Better
a
choices
good
could be
joke. He
made.
can't follow a story through to the end. He can't make a point. He's constantly referring back to some tangential or self-referential thing in a way that loses people. And he's describing that as a weakness that
Joy
Trump
Reid
won't
looks
be
like a
able to sort of resist falling
comic
into, particularly
book
as the night
villain.
goes on.
You're
and
right,
I think
Kino.
it's always important to
Yeah.
remember this
Joy
Donald
Reid
Trump
looks
is
like a
4 years
comic book
older
villain.
than the Trump that debated Hillary Clinton. And he's older yet than the person who was on The Apprentice, who could read, you know,
Trying
when
to
the
get the good
producers would tell him
screenshot.
who to fire, he could do that. He could perform that.
Come on, go back
But
to Joy Reid.
8 years older than Clinton when he was debating Clinton.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
8 years older. Sorry, 8 years older. Sorry, you're right. Time is a myth. You know, I mean, Nicole makes this point a lot. It's his act is so stale that Fox doesn't even really
There
cover
we go.
him
I
live
got the
anymore.
perfect screenshot.
It's very rare that they take him because I think they've even started to realize it's unhelpful to their preferred candidate to show him.
see you.
And the more that you actually watch him, which is why, you know, we all debate whether to show him. We do show him sometimes. Because you watch it and what you really see is a decrepit mind. You see a person who is declining. He is the oldest person ever to run for president, and it is clear that he
Trump
is
had a
in
decrepit
some
mind?
form of cognitive decline. And he keeps referring back to things that make him comfortable. Hannibal Lecter, the movie that he went to the premiere for, the the second version.
What does that got to
He
do with
goes to
anything?
places that are bizarre, which he calls the weave.
He's not
I think
Hannibal
to take it back to
Lecter.
what Lauren said.
Who
and I
are
think
you
what
on
Nicole said,
Rumble?
too.
Who are you on Rumble?
This is the reason that this debate is so artificial and so, in some ways,
Oh
built in a
my
nonsensical
God.
way.
Yeah, it's a
Because they
debate
are
that's artificial.
washing him in real time by muting his microphone and not showing you what Trump is really like, which is the way he is at his rallies. What they're doing is presenting an artificially cleaned up version of Donald Trump. And so I think for Vice President Harris,
must be it.
she really can't think about him.
All right,
Like, I
I'll
think about the
unban
way she
you,
responded
annoyed
to Dana Bash
patriot.
when,
All right,
you know,
just
God
be
bless
good,
Dana, she asked that
okay?
absurd question about her race, making her
Why
defend her
is
racial
my-
identity. And she said, same old thing, next thing. And it was such a brilliant way to just dismiss something stupid. I think she does need to correct things like the tariffs and explain, you know,
see
what
my
a
pretty
tariff
graph?
is. You know, I think if that comes up.
Hang on.
But I
Oh,
think
I'm back.
all she
Oh,
has
look
to
at
do,
that.
I'll just
That's
reiterate
cool.
what I said before.
Yeah.
This is a
like
90-minute
that.
TV show
Why isn't
for
my
Vice
video
President
working so
Harris
far? Okay, now
to
it's back.
present
My video is
herself to
back.
the
Yeah, you're
small
freezing
number
a
of
little
people
bit.
who
I
are
know, but
watching,
I think
who
I
want
fixed
to
it.
Don't leave me
vote,
alone,
Who are
Carlin. I don't know
not
what to do.
non-voters,
No, I
but
think it
who,
was
for
a setting.
whatever reason, have
Goddamn,
not gone
where's my
from
video?
Biden to her,
What the fuck?
from Indy to
No,
her,
we'll
or from
survive.
not voting to her. Treat it like a TV show, and that's your audience.
Lawrence, do you
How do
agree
you
with
get
that?
those people to vote?
Yeah, you know, look, you have to think about Donald Trump as a TV show because he is, okay? It's in its 9th year. This is the 9th year of the series. There's no TV series in history that was better in its 9th year than its 4th year or its 1st year, okay? Never. And audience fatigue sets in on most TV series before they ever get to 9, okay? And you're lucky if you're fading out at 7. And so he is stretching this TV series now into its 9th year with no new episodes. It's the same script from the pilot, from the first episode.
The problem, though, is that the sort of product tie-ins are a lot more lethal, right? Like, there's not a toy in the cereal box. There's a loaded gun at our democracy. I mean, the problem is that the saturation of the TV show is into the
Their
most extreme
analogies are
elements of our
terrible tonight.
politics.
They are all over the
And
board.
I think that,
Yep. Well, this is MSNBC.
you know, Chris Christie has an op-ed out tonight, and
can't say
and,
MSNBC without
he
saying
makes some
mess.
good points, having prepped Trump 30 times and having debated him himself. that Harris seems to have already incorporated in her presentation to this really important swath of voters. And I would add to your list, she should go for two-time Trump voters who have had enough of the TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are a lot of them.
How do you get those, Nicole?
Well, I think you put Dick Cheney on a bus with Bernie Sanders and send him to Erie, PA, and then if they can be in the bus together that long.
Are you insane?
Of Michigan, and then maybe drive
think
them.
they're gonna win
or
Trump voters with
maybe
Dick Cheney?
You asked Josh Shapiro where he deployed all the Republicans who endorsed him. Josh Shapiro ran a coalition candidacy. That's how he destroyed Doug Mastriano. She now has a coalition of support, and I think if you know David Plouffe, and we all do from being on TV, he's going to make sure she takes his TV audience and communicates about things they care about, the cost of everything, housing, school, education, groceries, everything. But I think in terms of sort of the political building blocks that she has to work with, she will do all this. And to your point about the filter we put on this, we can't sit here and say, did she speak to the kitchen table issues? Did she fact check him because the moderators refused to? You know, all she has to do is I think what the governor said. I mean, if you look at how she dismantled Brett Kavanaugh and Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr, it wasn't by saying, Brett Kavanaugh, you've never backed a law that controls a man's body. It was by saying, Mr. Kavanaugh, do you know of any laws that govern what a man can do to his body?
All
I'm sorry,
right.
what? I don't
Annoyed
understand
Patriot,
the question.
I
I'll
just,
repeat it. Do you know? I mean,
Rumble.
she's very good at asking questions that reveal everything about men that are a million times smarter than Donald Trump will ever be.
It
While
took
Kamala
me
Harris
a second.
is in Philadelphia for
I had
tonight's
other
debate,
things
her
to do.
running mate Tim Walz
Don't complain
has
at
spent
the
the day
speed at which
campaigning
I
in swing
unbanned
state
you when I'm doing you a
Arizona. He's
favor.
expected to attend
It
a
might
debate
take Rumble a
watch
second
party
to
there
catch up,
in
too.
Mesa, Arizona. You're looking
Jesus.
live at that venue right now. I can also tell you that after the debate, Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz will be joining us. He will be our guest here on
Why is
MSNBC. You
everything
guys, he's
slow?
coming. Look busy. We're going to be his only cable news interview tonight once the debate is over. So be sure to stay tuned after the debate
Everything
for that.
streaming is slow. Hang on. I bet I know what's going on. I think my VPN is on. All right. Trying again.
In swing state Arizona. He's in Phoenix. Now, Jacob, I understand some of the folks who are there with you tonight talked to us on MSNBC after the first presidential debate as well between Trump and Biden. There's not total overlap with the whole group, but some of those folks are overlap. It's going to be especially interesting to hear from them now.
Why can't I post in the chat?
Yeah, I'm excited to reintroduce everybody to some of those folks, Rachel. And the reason that we're inside, by the way, and Tim Walz will be inside tonight, and the watch parties are inside, is it is 107 degrees right now in Phoenix, Arizona. They've had some ridiculous stretch of over 100-degree temperatures in Arizona. So our friends at 12 News here in Phoenix, our NBC partner and the affiliate here, have been nice enough to invite us inside.
This comment has failed to
News has
post
also
in
been
Carlin
following the race here
Borisenko.
very closely, not just because Maricopa County, obviously, Phoenix, where we are, is the largest swing jurisdiction in the entire nation with 4.5 million voters. This state, Arizona, was decided by only 11,000. But because the candidates have been here nonstop, ultimately this thing is going to come down to the voters. And let's go see them right now, Rachel. They've been nice enough to hand over one of their sets here to us. And if you remember, Rachel, last time it wasn't me, it was Gotti Schwartz. But Jeff, our friend Jeff here, was one of the folks that you met last time. Jeff, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, your quote after the debate was, Donald Trump, hell no, Biden, oh no. Is that correct?
That's right. And so now we come to the next debate and we have to decide, is Kamala Harris up to the task of taking Trump down, because he's unacceptable on every basis level.
And do you think you could come out of this? Perhaps you didn't want to go with either of them after the last one. You think you could come out going with Vice President Harris after this one?
It's either that or I'm not going to vote for president.
Okay. All right. I'm going to quickly try to go around the table if I can real quick. Nicole was with us last time as well, Rachel. Nicole, I remember you saying to Gotti that you were prayerful about your husband and you not participating ultimately at the top of the ticket. How are you feeling today?
Very much the same. I mean, I need to see a different character than I've seen consistently in the past, and I'd have to go forward to see that character continue to change.
Okay, and this is Juan Carlos, Rachel. Juan Carlos wasn't with us last time. This will be Juan Carlos's first election. I'm always excited to talk to a first-time voter. Juan Carlos, you're leaning towards Trump, but you have said you don't like the rhetoric that you hear from him on immigration. Is there a chance, based on what you see tonight, you could go the other direction?
There's a small chance because my family came here legally, but they're legal immigrants, and I refer to southern countries just didn't sit well with me, you know.
Okay, we'll see.
You said it came legally?
Romeo, guys. Romeo, you were talking about how you went for Biden back in 2020. You're leaning towards Trump now, but tonight you could ultimately sway the other way. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really just looking for Kamala to affirm where she stands on a lot of these issues where I've heard she's flip-flopped a lot. So I'd really just want to see where she stands.
I'm so excited to watch with all these people. Rachel, you might remember Denise, who said she wrote herself in at the top of the ticket in both 2016 and in 2020. Are you still thinking about doing that this time around, or is this debate maybe going to be a game changer for you?
I'm still thinking about it this time around. I've done a lot of research on it, and there are 8 states, one of which being Pennsylvania, which allows writing candidate votes to count without having to file any paperwork.
Okay, Denise, we're going to be checking in with you after the debate. Remind me your name one more time. Forgive me.
Julian.
Julian's a musician. Julian is somebody who is not always participating in the political process.
I like
right?
his
You were
shirt.
telling us
That's cool.
before this, when it was Biden versus Trump, that
Yeah.
you perhaps felt like the candidates didn't understand your life.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, you feel a little bit differently right now, right?
Yeah, I think that Vice President Kamala
Because
Harris,
she's black.
she goes more towards the middle class, and I'm considered middle class.
You were saying that even you are struggling maybe with paying for housing. You thought you could end up, I mean, it's not an exaggeration, you could end up
When they
homeless
say they're
if
doing
stuff with
more,
the job doesn't go the right
they don't
way.
know.
Yeah,
They can't
if I
name
don't
anything
come up
though.
with the money for my rent.
There's more
or
for it.
If I
How?
can't find a job
She hasn't
by
done
October,
anything during her
sometime in
vice
October.
presidency.
That's what you'll be listening for
Nothing.
tonight. Julian, thank you very much. We'll check in with Julian
So
after the
he's
debate.
jobless,
And finally,
he's
guys,
about to be
this is
homeless,
Bonnie.
and,
Bonnie
like,
is a
this is-
retired
I-
school
like,
teacher,
and
30 years
that's
as an
sad,
elementary school
but-
teacher, right, Bonnie? The thing I love about what Bonnie said to us before the debate, as you said, there's a
Just
lot
like
of
a
sort of
musician,
pejoratives thrown
most of
around
them are
about
jobless and
undecided
homeless.
voters,
Yeah.
often that they're uninformed,
Ask
they're
me
not
how
paying
I know.
attention. You say that's the exact
Like,
opposite
for
with you.
real.
You've been paying very close attention. How are you still undecided?
That is correct. I have been paying a lot of attention, and the negativity overshadows the issues. And so I'm still at the point where I'm undecided, or possibly I will not vote for the president.
But could that change tonight?
I'm coming in with an open mind, and hopefully I will feel strongly toward one of our candidates.
Well, that's why we have assembled
All
this group.
I'm going to see. I think the Xfinity might be the thing that's actually lagging the whole stream. So I want to go back over to Nick and see if the streaming is any better if we're just streaming Nicholas over here. How do you feel about Nick Fuentes these days, Jennifer? Do you like him?
I don't
Is he
have a lot
adorable?
of investment, but yeah, I think he's very cute. Oh, look at him in his little lumberjack shirt.
He's wearing
Oh,
a lumberjack shirt. Yep.
oh, he's so precious.
2016, he was sharp. They called him Teflon.
Well, it's so much better.
They called him Teflon
No, it's
Don
actually working.
because
It was
nothing could
Xfinity.
stick. Nothing could penetrate. Nothing could. They called him Can't Stump the Trump. They said there are no brakes on the Trump train. It's always going.
All right. Well, Nick
And
is
that's
gonna have
because
some feelings right now. But
somehow-
Jennifer, do you have any thoughts about what you're looking for tonight? Any thoughts about what to expect? And are you undecided in who you're going to vote for, Jennifer? Do you have
No,
any,
I know who I'm going to vote for. I'm not. I have no problems. I have no speed bumps. Definitely Kamala Harris. No, I'm kidding. No. I think Kamala's going to come in hard. I think she's going to act all like smiley and authoritative, and I expect a large amount of condescension from her, because she does that. She puts her little nose in the air, and then she's like constantly, and I think that's what we're going to get a lot of her. She's going to not answer any questions directly, maybe a couple, maybe, but mostly she's just going to talk around and all of the stuff that she's been releasing that are her standpoints that she's saying that she supports now, all were announced by Donald Trump weeks ago, and they're just parroting him now. And then she has the audacity to say how hard she's worked on issues, when I can't think if anybody can think of an achievement she's had in the last 3.5 years. I'd love to hear it. I would love to hear it. So, because I don't know anything, but she's going to come off like she's the HBIC. She'd be all hopped up on condescension and arrogance. And I think Trump has been coached these days to be very based and calm. I don't think we're going to get the insults and stuff that we were kind of hoping for. But I just hope he keeps it together and acts, real professional. And I think he will. But I'm looking forward to I just hope his veneer cracks just a couple times and we get a little quip here or there. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah. See, I don't think Kamala Harris is going to cackle. And the reason I say that is she really hasn't been in the campaign events I've been watching for a while now. They media trained her out of that shit. And I'm
Really?
actually oh yeah, she hasn't been she didn't at the DNC. She has been media trained, she has been polished. They got her a whole new wardrobe. They are obviously writing all her speeches for her. Like she is now the Democrat machine. And that's the biggest concern I've had. It's the biggest concern I've been saying from the beginning. And I don't think a lot of people who are voting for Trump are actually watching Kamala Harris's campaign events to see how she's showing up, to see how she's acting, because it's really not the same. And I don't think that my Jennifer's audio is higher than mine. Okay, well,
Oh, is it? Sorry.
let me see if I see. I think it's the audio leveling that's actually causing some of the lag, but we'll just automatically adjust micro volume and see how that goes.
Also, it's Jen with one N, if you guys want to call me Jen. I'm not a fan of being called Jen, but it's one N if you're going to do it. Otherwise, it's like Jen, and you don't know where to stop.
All right. Well,
Or
hopefully that
J-Fire.
fixes it. But if not, people are honestly just gonna have to manage, or maybe Jennifer turn it on. I don't know. People can let us know.
I have no control. I have a like ye old super basic mic here.
I wonder if I can control it. Let me see. Edit mic settings.
I can pull it away from me a little bit, so I'm not like shouting into it. Is that a little better?
I don't know. Like, well, you guys can tell us how that is. And if you're gonna give us, by the way, guys, if you're gonna give us feedback on the audio in the chat, please be specific. Don't just say good or bad. I need you to be specific about this because, like vague feedback is really like stupendously unhelpful. Nurutu, advice for if you ever get the coveted slime sponsor. Did you know that monetizing a video with a paid sponsor violates YouTube's terms of service? I mean, yeah, I didn't know that, and honestly, I don't really think YouTube cares about me all that much, and so I'm not really worried about it. But thank you, Naruto, I appreciate it.
I do have a volume
that's
knob
not
on my mic,
helpful.
but I don't think it does anything.
Okay. Okay, no one is giving helpful feedback on the volume. I'm just trying to give you guys, like, I don't understand what any of that means. So it is what it is. Until someone gives helpful feedback, then it's gonna stay what it is. So what was I saying? So yeah, I think that this is actually, I don't know that I think Trump is gonna do well. First of all, like I am not in favor of Trump right now. I'm gonna be, it's very blunt. Trump continues to piss me off more and more and more and more and more. The more he speaks, the more he pisses me off. To be okay, I can turn my volume up. Okay, I'm turning my volume up and hopefully that'll level it out. Because like I feel like Trump is a moderate Democrat. I don't want to vote for a moderate Democrat. And people can say, well, Carlin, Trump was always a Democrat. Okay, well, that's not going to be a selling point for me. Like in any way, shape, or form, is that going to be a selling point for me? I don't want a Democrat. I don't want to vote for a Democrat. Trump has come out and said he lost in 2020. I don't think that I think that that's throwing a huge portion of his base who really put themselves out there for Trump. I think that that's throwing a lot of people under the bus. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate the super chat. I think that, Trump keeps saying that he's going to staple green cards to college diplomas. I don't want Trump stapling green cards to college diplomas. I don't want that. I don't think that's a good idea. Trump keeps saying that Trump has now hired like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard to be on his transition team, and I'm like, why? Like I see no value.
Two Democrats.
To this at all. Yeah, like two Democrats. Like, I mean, they're Democrats. Like, people might like them, but they are Democrats.
Well, to be fair, though, most of the left has gone so far left that normal Democrats, the normal liberals, the JFK liberals, are now all considered right wing.
No, but they're not, though.
In many ways. But I know, I agree with you, but that's how it's being seen by the collective these days. But no, I agree with you. They're still what they are. But I mean, I don't know if we can get along and get things back on track. I don't really care who does it.
I don't think getting along and unifying is going to get things back on track is the thing. I don't think it is. I don't think Democrat policies work. I don't think they make sense. I think they're just going to make things worse. And I think Trump is embracing Democrat policies. It really pisses me off every single time Trump denounces Project 2025 because, again, that's throwing his most loyal people under the bus. And it's like Trump is flat out saying, I'm denouncing conservative policies. Trump is telling us he's going to hire lobbyist people again. He just came out the other day, like he did this thing with RFK where apparently like he told RFK that he hired all lobbyist people the first time, but everything Trump is doing is guaranteeing that he's going to hire lobbyist people the second time. Like literally denouncing Project 2025 means he's hiring lobbyist people. That's what that means. And like his campaign is being run by lobbyists. I do not like the way his campaign is being run. I want Chris Lasavitas and Susie Wiles fired. I don't think Corey Lewandowski has made much change at all getting put in charge of the campaign. I think everything is going exactly like it is. I'm sorry to rant, but I honestly right now I have nothing positive to say about Trump, and I don't plan on voting for him. And people can have all the feelings they want. I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris either, but like I am not voting for Trump at this point. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Number 2, thanks for watching. About 90 people haven't mounted the like button yet.
Mount the like. Mount the like. Do it for Pete.
The like.
Do it for Pete.
Well, now they're like, now that they know I'm not voting for Trump, they're gonna be like, "Fuck you! You're a Democrat and a communist." And it's just
You're
like,
allowed to
okay,
have your opinions,
well.
Carlin. That's the thing, and I don't agree with a lot of kind of what you're saying, but I also am not as informed as you are, and I do that with purpose because I try to kind of focus on multiple things, and you are very absorbed in this political sphere. So for you have to be a lot more well educated in this than me. I'm just here for the fun. I'm here for like to drink and play with this thing. But no, I'm kidding. But I think with Trump, they really went to an extreme with mellowing him out. Like they neutered the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they may have gone too far with that, and it's making. He was fun. I know he was. And he'd say crazy shit, fine. But most of us knew it was he was just talking like a New Yorker. He wasn't being serious. And now it's like, now I don't know is he actually saying that or is he just making fun now?
Now, see, here is the problem, because Trump's bullshit has convinced the conservative base, Project 2025 is BS. No, it's not. Project 2025 was actually one of the most important things that Trump could have embraced, because the problem that Trump, and I'm sorry to go on a rant, Jennifer, but I need to tell Pauline.
Please do.
Because Pauline doesn't know what's what, and it's Donald Trump's fault that Pauline doesn't know what's what. Project 2025 was a way to get a conservative agenda in this country. Project 2025 was the middle finger to all the rhinos that you guys claim to hate. Project 2025 was the antidote to the establishment Republican Party and the rhinos that you guys claim to be against. Project 2025 was a hiring database of America First loyalists. That's what Project 2025 was. And
wasn't it a little extreme though in the conservative area though? Like, didn't it go a little too far in the conservative?
It was just like the most important part of Project 2025 was a hiring database. That's what it was. It was a list of America First people that Trump could use to fill the 60,000 positions that he would need to fill when he got into DC. Now, guess what's happened? Every single person that was on that list are now pissed off at Trump because he's denounced them all over and over and over again. So now what happens if Trump gets elected? He's going to fill those positions with lobbyist picks. And it's going to be exactly the same as before. It's actually going to be the swamp. Trump is going to be hiring the goddamn swamp. That is the problem with Trump denouncing Project 2025 over and over and over again. He's now pissed off a lot of people who would have been in his base, who would have voted for him anyway. And there is no way in this universe that there's going to be conservative policies implemented that are outside of the Republican establishment rhino policies with how Trump has handled this situation. That's just reality. And see, Pauline, this is the problem. Like, what you're saying is not what I've read, because everyone has lied about this, and the reason they've lied about this is Trump repeatedly denouncing it. So this is entirely Trump's fault. This is Trump's fault from start to finish. And this is why I'm like, you know what, Trump, you effed over yourself. And he had every opportunity to walk it back, and he didn't. It
got so slammed upon by the left that I think that Trump's campaign had a really extreme knee-jerk reaction to it. And because a lot of lies and misinformation came out immediately, as it normally does when things are announced or things come out. And I think his campaign, instead of writing the communication, they just denounced it. And that's something that I find really frustrating because it just adds misunderstanding upon misunderstanding. And nobody knows what way is up anymore with a lot of who stands where, especially with the 2025 thing that we're just talking about particularly. But there's a lot of places where I'm just confused now. I don't even remember. I'm like, whatever, goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, an RFK Jr. saying he's going to help Trump drain the swamp, but that's not possible. Trump literally has lobbyists running his campaign. It's not possible that RFK Jr. is going to try to drain the swamp. That's not going to happen. And this is another excuse that a lot of conservatives are making. Trump is just trying to get elected, and then he flips the script. No, that's not going to happen. He pissed off 60,000 people that could have been put in positions in the government that no longer want to be involved because he's denounced them over and over and over and over again. Where are you going to find 60,000 America First loyalists to replace those people that Trump has pissed off? There is no flipping the script. If Trump wins, it's going to be a lobbyist presidency. You're going to get more swamp, not less. Nothing's actually going to get done. And P.S., Trump is running like a moderate Democrat, so you're literally going to get moderate Democrat policies.
On the other hand, what I'm more concerned about is a Kamala Harris presidency. And what I resent is
They're no different. They're no different.
I don't know that I agree with that, but I feel like she would continue and double down on all the stuff that Biden has done that has really hurt a lot of us. And I'm deeply concerned with her being in power, even though we know she's not really going to be steering the boat. It bothers me. At least I know with Trump, he's going to have some modicum of being in charge. And I'm not as afraid of that. And I like a lot of his policies and things. I mean, I really do like the guy. I dig him. I'm good. I'm not going to soft shoe about it.
Okay. Pauline wants me to say that she lives in Detroit and live in this Democrat nightmare. Hey, Pauline, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm never going to Detroit again. Detroit sucks. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. But this is why people need to be informed about what's going on, because it's like neither of them are going to fix Detroit. Like, Detroit is I'm very sorry, but Detroit is lost.
Well, a lot of other cities are starting to follow that pattern. I know Denver is one of them, because I live here, or not in it, but near it. And a lot of places are starting to follow that pattern. And, I was just, like I said, I was just all the way over in Knoxville, and they're starting to see some of the things. Knoxville kind of reminded me of how Denver was 25 years ago, maybe almost 30 years ago. It's a lot cleaner. There was hardly any homeless people. It seemed like a more unified, nicer. I wasn't afraid to walk around, if the sun went down. It was a really nice place, a beautiful city. And Denver used to be like that. And now I would not go downtown and leave my car in the middle of the day in Denver. It is awful down there. It is a war zone practically. It's terrible. And now Aurora has Venezuelans taking over with 3 apartment complexes now. Aurora's just about an hour east of me. So, I mean, it's all Democratic policies that do this. And I know, like, Trump may not be optimal, but I'm telling you, Kamala Harris gets in there. She's going to double down on all this. It's just going to keep getting worse. It is fanning into the suburbs now. It's like we're losing our safe places.
I mean, I would say, though, that I think that maybe the Republicans need to learn a lesson for how badly they've handled this election.
They're not going to learn a lesson.
Well, then things are never going to get better. Then we should just embrace accelerationism, because if they're going to learn a lesson, things are never going to get better, and it's only going to get worse, and that's the way it goes.
Dictator.
Hey, I want to take a couple super chats over on Rumble, and thank you, Annoyed Patriot, for the heart. I appreciate it. And Guardianship says, cackling Kamala thinks all the serious wars she and Biden administration started are just liberal art, funny games, or jokes for shits and giggles. She has zero war skill. Trump destroys her on war as well. Trump is the one that wants to go to war with Iran, bro. So I don't know about that, but I do appreciate the $5. Anyway.
Janet asked if the Aurora takeover the apartment buildings was a real story. Yes, it did happen. A Venezuelan gang took over an apartment building because they were housing illegal immigrants in an apartment building, a complex, and these gang members, of course, self-inserted as they do, and they took it over. And I heard they've got 2 more now. I've been kind of lightly following it, but this last couple of days, again, I haven't quite put my nose totally back into the news, but I've been lightly paying attention. But yeah, that did happen, and it's only getting worse now.
Yeah. Well, we should be getting started any minute here on the debate. I don't know what the fuck Nick is fucking around with, because the debate should be starting, Nick.
What do you think about looking at Fox's streaming of it? Maybe it's the MSNBC feed that sucks.
It wasn't the feed. It was Xfinity. It was the Xfinity app that was doing it. So, all right. Well, I thought that Nick was gonna watch the debate, but he's fucking around on Twitter. Nick, go to the debate. Jesus Christ. Okay, here we go.
Let's see. Let's see what NBC's saying. We're getting into it. 8 minutes away.
30,000 people watching Nick Fuentes tonight. How cool is that? He's gonna hit 100,000 subs tonight, probably.
Wahe Guru. Call Wahe Guru. Call Duke Dennis.
Hopefully Nick doesn't say anything.
Call Livy Dunn. Call Grimace Shake.
Not happy, but we all need beer. Yes, cheers
Call
for beer.
the Rizzler.
Beer is reliable. Beer will never let us down. Except if it's an IPA, and then it will.
I don't like those either.
Fuck IPAs.
Call Turkish Quandale Dingle.
Look at how many viewers.
All right, where's this debate?
Look at how
Let's get ready.
Holy shit!
Wow.
What stream? What is the who's streaming the debate? It's ABC, right? Where do I go to watch it though?
Oh my god, Nick, you asshole!
Can I watch it on
we
NBC?
We missed Kino's
here
super
we
chat.
go. Doy.
Did we miss Kino's super chat? We did.
Derp.
Oh, sorry,
All
Kino.
right, here we go. Here we go.
Full-fledged.
7 minutes
castrated him.
away. What are your guys' predictions? What do you think?
I agree.
Let's do it one more time. We're 5 minutes away from the historic,
Thanks, Kino, for the
legendary
super chat.
Trump versus
I don't know if
Kamala
I wanna
Harris
hear
debate.
him
it is so exciting.
commentating over
1
this
for
whole
Trump,
thing.
2 for
He's
Harris.
not going to do commentary over the whole thing. He usually just watches it.
Okay.
And if he he usually doesn't talk over the event as it's happening, and like in the commercials he'll do commentary.
That's our job.
Well, I know we can do it too. We can mute him, but I like it's like I'm getting a 2-for-1 deal here. I get to understand what Nick's opinion is on it, and I get to actually watch the thing.
I know.
And
I know you got a little rougey cheek for
He's
Nick
adorable.
these days.
He's adorable.
adorable.
Look how adorable he is. He looks like a lumberjack.
I want to tussle his little hair. Tussle.
He was so forceful with Candace Owens last night when he threatened to reveal dirt on her. I was like, Nick.
Oh, showing a little authority. I love a man in charge.
Nick has recently announced plans to lose his virginity. Jennifer, it's time.
What? Outside of marriage?
He has no. He's gonna be married. Obviously, he's gonna be married. They all have to be married. But Nick has now ordered the gropers to go sleep with white girls to impregnate them to have more white children.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is he encouraging sinful, lustful behavior?
No, he's saying within the confines of marriage, but he's saying that
Make
it is the white man's obligation to find a white woman to marry so they can have white children.
So it's like I said, this is a story.
It's a very stressful time for him. Well, he says this doesn't start for another 6 minutes. Did Nick actually have that right?
This is when they decoupled.
Nick, the debate is starting, you asshole! God damn it! I'm gonna have to pull up Xfinity. Fucking hell! Fuck it! This is what happens. This is what happens. I'm going. This is what happens when men take control. This is what happens when men take control. Nick, you're 6 minutes behind.
Inflection point here. And that's when Harris starts
I don't know how many times I'll call her comments. God damn it! My Xfinity is not loading. Hang on. We're getting there. We're almost there. It's loading. Oh, I rewound his feed. Oh, is it my fault? It's my fault. Sorry. It's my fault. I was blaming men, and it was really my fault.
Oh, I hate the sound of her voice.
And his ideas about what should be
Woman moment.
the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump.
She's nervous.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that.
Admonish.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. They would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before. Probably the worst in our nation's history.
Trying a new
We were
vein
at
treatment.
21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at
Someone
Aurora
please think of
Colorado.
the black people.
They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're
No one
going
ever
in
thinks of them.
violently. These are the people that she and Biden let into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of
Trump looks
criminality.
awful. I'm sorry.
And we
He
have
looks
to get them
awful.
out. We have to get them out fast. I
think
created
it's
one of
the
the
hair and the
greatest
lighting.
economies
It's
in the
like
history of our
highlighting his
country.
baggy
I'll
eyes.
do it again
the
and
angle,
even better.
too.
We are going to get to
a good
immigration and
statement.
border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris
They're both
respond
really
on the
giving an
topic here.
opening statement.
Well, I would love to. Let's
Oh my
talk
God,
about
Garland, we're
what
such
Donald
chicks.
Trump
Look at his
solid.
hair.
left
Look at his
us.
makeup. I don't know about
Donald
that
Trump
camera
left
angle. I
us
love lighting.
the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Shut up, Keno.
Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century.
You're blaming
Donald
Trump for
left
COVID?
us the worst attack on our democracy since the
God.
Civil War. And what we have
It was a
done is
little
clean up Donald
insurrection.
Trump's
What about
mess.
9/11?
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan
brother.
called Project 2025 that the former president
W.
intends on implementing if he were elected to get.
I wish.
Yeah, I
I
wish
believe
too.
very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump, will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025.
Oh, here we
That's
go.
out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This
I
was a
haven't
group of
read it.
people
I
that
know
got
nothing
together.
about
They came up with
it. I
some
don't know
ideas.
what's
I
in
guess
it. I'm
some
just
good, some
announcing
bad.
it repeatedly.
But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows
got
what I'm
bad
going to
press
do. Cut taxes
so
very
quickly.
substantially
He's
and
just
create a great
retaliating now.
economy
That's
like I
'cause
did
Trump wants to
before.
be liked more
We
than he
had the
wants to
greatest
lead, and that's
economy.
the
We got
fucking
hit with a
problem.
pandemic.
Which
And
didn't
the
used to be the
pandemic
case,
was
but
not
we'll see
since
what- we'll see.
1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military.
is
They give me
sloppy.
credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did
Yeah,
with
'cause
the
Trump didn't do
pandemic.
debate
But
prep.
the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan
It's
as
amazing
something
when you
that
get
would
people to say when
increase
you pay them to
inflation and
say
by
it,
the
isn't it,
middle of
Kamala?
next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country.
What?
And just to finish off, she
Look at her, she's
doesn't
doing the
have a plan.
condescension
She
face.
copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run.
Yeah, that's not a good
4
look for
sentences
Kamala. I
that are
agree.
just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes.
That's the bitchy
She doesn't
woman
have a
look.
plan. Take
I
a look at her
agree.
plan. She
Yep.
doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on
Slop,
something you
it's
both
not
brought
prepared.
up. The vice president
Yeah,
brought
he's
up your
got a rough
tariffs. You
start here.
responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
Well,
I
it's a long
was the
debate,
only
you know.
president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately
One of the
cut the
biggest
tariffs. But those tariffs are there
inflationary
3.5
causes was the
years
cost
now
of fuel
under their administration.
and raising the minimum
We are going to
wage.
take
Those two
in
things
billions of
raised
dollars,
everything else.
hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was
That's
terrible.
true. I made
Vice
a lot
President
more
Harris,
money
I do
under
want
Trump.
to ask for your
Hell
response.
yeah.
You heard what the president said there because the Biden administration did keep a number of the
Look
Trump
at their
tariffs in
track
place. So
records.
how do you respond?
Harris'
well, let's
track
be
record
clear
is
that the
not
Trump
good compared to
administration
Trump's.
resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever
And
seen
yet
in the
Trump is
history
now
of
moderate
America.
Democrat, so I don't
He
have high hopes
invited
for that.
trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military. Basically
American
sold
chips?
us out
Under
when a
Biden's
policy
presidency,
about
China
China
sent a
should
spy
be
balloon.
in making sure the United States of America wins the
I thought we didn't make
competition for the
chips
21st
anymore.
century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID,
Workers'
is he
rights is
actually
social.
Oh, come on with the COVID,
President Xi
Kamala.
for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all,
fair
they bought their
criticism,
chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of
Thank you. That's what I was
philosophies
saying.
like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's
Yep.
going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country,
It's
and when
over.
you look at these
It's over.
millions and
I can never
millions
vote
of
for
people
Trump
that
now.
are pouring into
That's
our
it.
country
I
monthly,
can never vote
where
for
it's,
him
I
now.
believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say,
This
and I think
debate's
it's a
all
lot
over the
higher
place.
than the 21. That's
Yeah,
bigger than New
Nick's
York
not wrong
State
with
pouring
that.
in. And just look at what they're doing to our country.
I'm chugging the
They're
rest of this
criminals.
beer
Many
because
of
of
these
that.
people coming
Oh,
in are
God,
criminals.
okay.
And that's
Oh,
bad
it-
for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump.
Love it.
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill
It's a little
Roe v.
messy,
Wade.
but that was good.
Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights.
Here we go.
In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need
No, he
more
doesn't.
than
He
6
looks
weeks.
awful.
But
She
then
looks
on the
pale.
very
He
next
looks
day, you
like he's glowing.
He
and
looks
said you would
off
vote to
color. I
support the
disagree
6-week ban.
profoundly.
Vice President
wrong with
Harris
the hair.
says
I'm
that
still
women
disturbed
shouldn't
by it.
trust
I
you
miss
on
the
the issue
swoop.
of
It's
abortion
that blonde
because
swoop.
you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is
shouldn't be giving
because
fashion
the
advice.
plan is, as
I
you know,
agree.
the vote is,
Not with
they
that
have
skirt.
abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job.
I think he means
But
Virginia.
the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her
executing
vice
babies.
presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is
Executing
something
babies is
for
bad.
52 years, they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court
Trump does look
justices,
spry.
we were able to
He's
do that.
spry,
Now, I
he's
believe in the
forceful. I'll give that
exceptions
to him.
for rape,
Yeah.
incest, and life of the mother.
You know what
I
I'm
believe
seeing with
strongly
these
in it.
camera
Ronald Reagan
angles,
did
though,
also. 85%
they're
of
looking
Republicans
down on
do.
Trump, but they're looking just
Exceptions.
a little
Very
up.
important.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal
Bro,
scholar,
don't
every
spread
Democrat,
Charlie
every
Kirk talking
Republican,
points here. Come
liberal,
on.
conservative,
That's
they
not
all
real.
wanted
Come
this
on.
issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal.
Ohio.
Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than
true.
people would have
Kamala
thought.
and her husband
But
have never had
each
sex.
individual state is voting. It's the vote of
never
the
happened.
people now. It's not tied up in the federal government.
they've kissed
I
on the
did a
cheek
great
every once in a
service in
while,
doing
but
it. It
that's
took
it.
courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your
Is
response
that
to
right?
that.
I thought that was, as I said,
That was
you're a bunch
good.
of lies.
That's
And
not
that's
entirely
not
pretty good.
actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court
Which
with
he's
the
allowed to do
intention
as
that they
president,
would undo the
Kamala.
protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does
This is
not
her
have to
moment.
abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country.
I'm
You want to
cringing
talk
so
about
hard
this
right
is
now.
what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in
That
an
is
emergency
so-
room because the
that is a
healthcare
lie.
providers
That is
are
so
afraid they
absolutely
might
not
go to
true.
jail, and she's bleeding
Screw
out
you,
in a car in
Kamala.
the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her
That is
husband didn't
absolutely
want
a lie.
that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term.
Predicted
they don't
this.
want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress
Miscarriages are
passes
not
a bill
forced.
to
That's
put
gross.
back in place the
No,
protections
no, you
of Roe v.
haven't.
Wade,
Don't fucking
as
lie.
President of
Don't
the
do
United
that.
States, I
No,
will
you haven't.
proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe
she even talking
that
about now?
certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially
It's all
50-50
good,
in both
Brennan.
Senate and the House.
Good,
She's not going to
good.
get the
No
vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get
appreciate
student
the money,
loans
though.
terminated, and it ended up being a total
We still
catastrophe.
love you, Brennan.
The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you
man,
support any restrictions
not
on a woman's
prepared.
right to
You
an
need to be
abortion?
prepared for that question.
You know what?
support
He's much better in front of an
reinstating the
audience.
protections of Roe v.
He's
Wade.
better at being a
And
showman.
as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And
That's a
understand
lie.
what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments.
That's
What
also
is
a lie.
happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely afford
How did
childcare as it
only
is,
Kamala could turn
have to
abortion
travel
into
to
a
another state
fight for pregnancy
to get on a
issue.
plane sitting next to strangers, to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through
That's what Medicaid's for.
is
It's also a lie.
unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans
Trump looks so
believe in a
weak right
woman's
now.
right to
I'm
make
sorry.
decisions
She's like
about her own body.
berating him,
And that
and
is
he's
why
not.
in every state where this issue
He's
has
trying to
been
be
on the
too well
ballot,
behaved.
in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing,
What's that phrasing, buddy?
you should ask. will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her
Why-
that
why
question?
don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
Because
confirm?
there
Yeah,
will be
she's
women-
already said she's for it.
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's
That
important
wasn't
to
bad.
Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris,
Struggled a
you
little
were
in the
tasked
middle
by
there.
President Biden with getting to the root causes of
Republicans are never
migration
gonna
from
win on
Central
abortion.
America.
It's never gonna
We know that
happen.
illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This
Well,
past
notice
June,
they've switched the
President Biden
narrative
imposed
from
tough
no
new
abortions
asylum
ever
restrictions. We know
to
the numbers
late
since then have
term.
dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking
She's
of
prepped this
guns,
answer. This is
drugs, and human
really prepped.
beings. And let me say
Oh,
that the
bravo.
United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported.
Oh, come
and
on with
that
this
bill
one.
would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working
she's
there
gonna
right
bring
now
this up.
overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks
There
in
was
Congress
an
and said, kill
attachment
the
to
bill.
it.
And you know why?
It wasn't because of the
he'd
main
prefer
bill.
to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country
see if
actually
Trump has
need a
prepped a
leader
response,
who
because-
engages
I'm trying to
in
remember what was
solutions,
attached to it. It
who
was
actually
either the-
addresses
But it
the
doesn't matter,
problems
though.
at
We
hand.
need to see how Trump
But
responds,
what we
because,
have in the
like,
former
maybe he's
president
prepped
is
a
someone who
response,
would
maybe he
prefer to run
hasn't,
on a
but-
problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about
Let's see
immigration
if
a
he
lot
prepped a
tonight, even when
a
it's not the
response.
subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about
Oh, my
fictional characters
gosh.
like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion
Oh
and
my
boredom.
God.
And I will tell you, the one
That
thing you will
doesn't
not hear
happen,
him
though.
talk about is you. You will not
That
hear him talk
doesn't
about your
happen.
needs, your
That's
dreams,
not
and your
real,
and your
Kamala.
desires.
That's
And I'll
not
tell you, I
real.
believe you deserve a president who actually puts you
She's so
first. And I
nervous.
pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President
little
Trump, on that point,
chihuahua.
I want to get your
I'd
response.
like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said
Oh,
people start
fuck
leaving.
you,
People
Trump.
don't go to
Concerned
her
about the
rallies. There's no reason to
rallies?
go.
Trump.
And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there.
No,
and
no,
then
she's not,
showing
Trump.
them in a different
Oh
light.
my God, that's
So
such a
she
lie.
can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest
That's not
rallies, the most
true.
incredible rallies in the
We have
history
the
of
biggest
politics.
rallies.
That's
They're the
because people
best
want to
rallies.
take their country back.
Oh.
Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another
Trump
subject.
is literally
What
delivering
they have done to
conspiracy
our country
theories
by
in the
allowing
debate.
these
Yeah,
millions
he
and
is.
He's taking the
millions
bait,
of people
though.
to come into our
Yeah.
country
Nick knows it
and look
too.
at what's
That's
happening to the
conspiracy
towns
theory.
all over the United States.
Sad,
And a lot
Trump.
of towns don't want to
Sad.
talk. Not going to be
You used to
Aurora or
answer that
Springfield.
question. It was
A
so
lot of towns
important.
don't want to talk
Trump
about
is
it
more
because they're so
concerned about
embarrassed by it.
defending his
In
rallies than he is about
Springfield,
talking about
they're
immigration.
eating
This is
the
the problem,
dogs,
Jennifer.
the
This
people
is
that
what I'm
came
talking
in.
about. This
They're
is the
eating
fucking
the
problem.
cats. They're eating.
They're
eating
cats.
the pets of the people that live there.
Let's go.
And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and
didn't
ABC
answer
News
the
did reach
question.
out to the city manager
I
there.
didn't
No,
expect
and that
you
was
to do
such a
that.
There have been no
missed
credible
opportunity.
But that's
reports of
awesome.
specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen
Only.
people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
The people on
this is a
television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But
television.
the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again,
W,
Springfield City Manager says
W.
there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Love it. Look at this bitch.
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain,
Oh, please.
including
Yeah,
the
real
endorsement
winners.
of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is,
Take the
if
bait,
you didn't
Trump.
make it
Take the
clear
Liz Cheney
already,
debate.
just ask
Please
people
take
who
it.
have worked
Please
with him.
take it.
His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States.
Let's go.
His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump
Wait a minute. This from the
term.
woman who said Joe
And
Biden
when
was
we
Because it'll be
perfectly
an
fine
empire.
this kind of
mentally
rhetoric,
for the last couple
when the
years.
issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously.
No
They
one's
did
having more fun tonight
bad
than
things
Nick,
or a bad
apparently.
job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen.
Trump
so when
isn't
somebody
even
does a
answering the
bad job,
questions.
I
He's
fire
so
him.
off
And you
kilter.
take a guy
He
like
isn't
Esper,
correct
he was
at
no
all.
good. I
This is driving
fired
me
him, so he writes a
insane.
book. Another
This is
one
the
writes a
worst
book.
time to
Because
be
with me,
off
they can
ballot.
write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they
Hey, thank
never
you, Cheryl.
fire
I
anybody.
appreciate it.
Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Sheesh.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your
go back to the
deportation
topic.
proposal
Trump.
that the vice president has reacted
Let's
to
go
as
back to
well.
the topic.
President
Some-
Trump,
some
you call
good,
this the
some
largest
bad.
domestic deportation operation in the history of our
Hey,
country. You say you use the
Trendlin,
National Guard. You say if things get out of
Karen Ann
control, you
won't
have
unblock me on
no
Twitter,
problem
and I
using
blame
the
you,
U.S.
Trendlin. It's
military.
probably your fault.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much
Please.
higher. Take us through this. What does
Undocumented
this look like?
immigrants.
Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals.
But how are you going to deport them, Trump?
Millions
How
of
are you going to
criminals.
deport them?
They allowed terrorists.
on.
They allowed common street criminals.
Trump, give
They
us a
allowed
plan.
people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And
Come
they're now
on.
in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever
Valid.
come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the
That's not the
fabric of our
question,
country by
Trump.
what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
wasn't
President
the
Trump, as
question,
you know, the
Trump. That
FBI
was
says
not the
overall
question.
violent crime is
So
actually coming
epic.
down in this country.
This
But
guy
Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI
This guy
they were
sucks.
defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump,
Yeah,
thank
that
you. I'll let you
was-
respond, Vice
Love
President
it.
Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted
The GOAT.
for national security crimes,
Notorious.
economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his
W.
next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for
He's
law
just the
enforcement.
best.
The
He's the
former
GOAT.
vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page
Oh, brother.
on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address
Can't
what
have
we
what's
need to
back
do
behind
about
us-
the housing
behind
shortage,
us in
which
the
I
back
have
in
a
the
plan
future.
for. Address what we must do to support our small businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization.
I beat
Never
the
happened
case.
in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election.
President
They're
Trump.
fake cases.
Trump
President Trump,
sounds
thank
like
you.
a
A really
crazy
quick response
uncle
here,
at a
Vice President
family
Harris, on this
reunion.
notion
That's
of
how I read this.
weaponization of the
It's
Justice
like,
Department.
for people,
Well,
for
let's
normies,
talk about
for people who don't
extreme
know,
and
it's
understand
like-
the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court
He's locked
recently
in.
ruled that the former president would essentially be
Nick has more
immune
faith than I do.
from any misconduct
Immune.
if he were to enter the
There,
White
I
House
made a
again.
hat for Pete.
Understand,
W.
this
There
is
you
someone
go.
who has
Perfect. That
openly
looks like a good
said
hat.
he
It's
would
got a ball on
terminate,
top.
I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed
Yeah, for real.
disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
Weaponized, please.
We got to
This is the
continue
one
here.
that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia
Trump is getting pissed
investigation.
off.
We do have a lot to
that
get
Maybe
to.
went
Trump
nowhere.
We have
should
a
get
lot to get
pissed
to.
off.
Lindsay?
He's been
Maybe
getting
he'll
horrible
focus.
In your last
fucking
run for
advice.
president, you said you
Yeah.
wanted to ban
Maybe he'll
fracking.
focus.
Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons.
Maybe
now
Trump
your
is finally gonna start
campaign
taking this
says you
seriously,
don't.
'cause he has
You
not been
supported
taking it seriously up
decriminalizing
until this
border
point.
crossings.
I agree.
Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking, because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020.
Yeah,
I will not ban
flip-flopped
fracking.
on that.
I have
and she
not
keeps
banned
saying she
fracking as
didn't.
Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the
Well, you know what?
largest increase
Trump
in
wanted the mics
domestic oil
muted.
production in history.
So that's his fault.
Because of an approach
That
that
was a Trump
recognizes
campaign
that we
request.
cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a
I was
hardworking
an
mother
upper lower class
who
kid, like
worked
middle
and
class,
saved
like
and
middle
was able
class
to
at
buy our
best. Middle
first home
class
when
would
I
have
was
been
a
good for me,
teenager.
girl.
The values I bring to
So,
the importance of
don't
home
fucking
ownership, knowing
front.
not everybody got
Don't
handed
fucking front. You don't know
$400
shit about
million
me or the
on
place
a
I grew
silver
up. And I grew
platter
up in
and then
rural
filed bankruptcy
Vermont.
6 times is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather.
Oh,
And my
brother.
focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a
Yappersville.
perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now. You don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
She went out.
Yes, dude.
She went out in Minnesota
the
and
goat.
wanted to
That's
let
why he's the
criminals that
goat.
killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal
I named
aliens that are
transgender
in
Pete.
prison. This
He has
is
a
a
lovely
radical
hairdo now.
left liberal that would
Look
do
at that.
this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one.
Yeah,
Just to
finally
finish one
Trump had a
thing,
good
so
moment.
important in my
Finally.
opinion.
Get mad,
He's
Trump.
pissed off,
I
isn't
got the
he?
oil business
He's
going like
pissed
nobody has
off.
ever done before.
Needs it.
They
Get
took
mad.
when they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up.
You know, it's not how you
the
start,
roof.
it's how you finish. If
They
you
immediately
finish
let
strong.
these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was
See, now we're
because they
getting
had
the
no
fire
choice
back.
because
Now
the
we're getting
prices
Trump
of
back.
energy
Come on, Trump.
were
Embrace
quadrupling
it.
and doubling.
Lean
You
into
saw what
this,
happened
Trump.
to
Come
gasoline.
on.
So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar.
Turn
But they
orange,
take
Trump. Now's the time.
400,
Turn
500
orange, Trump.
acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay,
He's
thank you. We have an
unleashed.
election
He's
in just
unleashed.
56 days.
Yes.
And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which,
Dude.
of course, we all know is
When
a
he
cornerstone
goes,
of our
"I'm
democracy
talking,"
and the
does that
role of a
sound
president
familiar?
in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you
That's
told
why
your
he's the
supporters to
GOAT.
march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning,
well,
I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet.
Might do
That's
that
because
shirt,
she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election.
This guy's such an asshole.
Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about
This
former
guy,
Speaker Pelosi. But
dude,
I do want Vice
this
President Harris to
moderator's
respond here.
such a little faggot.
I was at the Capitol.
Disavow,
I was
YouTube
the
disavow. I would
vice
never use that
president-elect.
word.
I was
Moderators
also
suck.
an acting senator.
But he does
I was
suck.
there.
Nick is not
And on that
wrong
day,
about this level
the
of
president of
wrong.
the United
Yeah,
States
he does
incited a
suck.
violent mob
Here we go.
to
Another
attack
moment.
our nation's capital, to desecrate our
January
nation's capital.
6th didn't
Sorry
On
for
that
the
day,
language.
140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
No,
and
they
understand,
didn't, Kamala.
the former
Some
president
di-
has been
who?
indicted and impeached
He named the one person who
for
did.
exactly that reason.
Bullshit.
But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate.
Oh, is this
And what
the
did
there's
the
fine
president
people?
then at the time say?
The fine people
There were
quote.
fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand
Everyone
back
drink
and
if Nick
stand by.
Fuentes gets
That was
mentioned.
awesome.
So for
Come on,
everyone watching
Trump
who
had dinner with
remembers
a
what
white
January
supremacist.
6th was,
Trump had dinner with a white supremacist.
I say,
say
we
the
don't
line,
have to go
Kamala.
back.
Do it,
Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page.
Kamala. Trump
And if
had
that was
dinner
a
with a
bridge
white
too far for
supremacist.
you, well,
Say
there
the
is
line.
a place in our
I
campaign
have a question.
for
If
you
it's time to turn the page,
stand
how come she
for
can't?
country,
None of these Dems can
to
like go to the back.
stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law,
Go away.
and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point.
You mean like
Donald Trump,
charging
the
your offender
candidate,
with made-up
has
crimes
said in this
and
election
changing
there will
voting
be a
rules at the last
bloodbath.
minute, those
If
kinds
this
of things.
and the
Kamala.
outcome of this election is not to his liking, let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like
How
they bring
was it debunked, Trump?
2025 up.
Explain.
They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this.
use
You
all
talk
the
about
words.
the
All the
Capitol.
words.
Why are we allowing
explain.
these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come
soundbite.
she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do.
Trump.
I would say we would
All you
both
had
leave
to do
this
was
debate
prep
right now.
Trump.
I'd like to
That's
see her
it.
go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to
Facts.
focus
Love
on
it.
this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won.
Oh, here we go.
Many times saying you won in a landslide.
Here we go.
In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate,
Here we
you have said,
go.
quote,
This
you
is-
lost
this
by a
debate is
whisker,
ridiculous.
that you,
These
quote, didn't
moderators.
quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now
Yes, you
acknowledging that you
did.
lost in
No, I
2020?
don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically.
least he
And these
denounced
people
saying
are
it.
trying to
I'll-
get
I'll
them to
take
vote.
it.
This is
And
so
that's why
good.
they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a
This
whisper. We
guy
didn't quite make it. And we
sucks.
should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said there
They
was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have
That's
standing,
true.
a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't
Love
have
it.
standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd
True.
love to have you do
Yeah,
a
Winter
special
Pete
on
now.
it. I'll show you
Winter Pete with his
Georgia, and
little
I'll
hat,
show you
scarf.
Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania,
Oh,
and I'll
that's
show
good.
you.
It's got a
We have
shawl.
so many facts
Little
and
scarf and
statistics.
hat, yep.
But you know what? That doesn't
Excellent.
matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline.
Good.
We have
That's
a
old
nation
news.
that
Correct,
is
Trump.
dying,
Good.
David.
Mr. President, thank you.
He's
Vice President
so-
Harris,
dude, he's
you heard the
back.
president there tonight. He said he
For
didn't
one
say
night
that he
only.
lost by whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the
This
election.
moderator's such a
That was
jag-off.
won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was
Does your
fired by 81
opponent
million
suck?
people.
Yeah.
So let's be clear about that. And clearly, he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way
Look at that
in a
face.
presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe
He's making a
that
happy
perhaps
face.
we do not have
Half of
in
those
the
courts
candidate
are
to
not
my
even
right the
hearing it.
temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just tell you about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes.
Yes.
They threw her out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
He hates
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages were still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how. Saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
No,
Many
Israel
of them
killed a
young
portion
people
of
who were
those,
simply
Kamala.
attending a concert.
Wrong.
Women were horribly raped.
Israel
And
killed
so
the people attending the,
I said then,
the
I
concert,
say now.
Kamala.
Israel has a right to defend itself. We would.
Oh, my God.
And how it does so matters. Because it is also
Google
true,
Hannibal
far too many
directive.
innocent
Hannibal
Palestinians have been
directive.
killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Hannibal
Work around the
directive.
clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that
never gonna
solution,
happen.
there must be security for the Israeli people
Israel
and
said that's
Israel,
never
and in
gonna happen.
equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security,
exactly.
self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President
That
Harris,
was
he
tough.
says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy.
We're not doing
it is
this
well
here.
known
No.
that he admires
This is a smart
dictators,
people channel. This
wants
is
to
not
be
a
a
stupid
dictator
people
on day one,
channel.
according to himself.
W.
It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear.
Putin's
they
voting
can
for you,
manipulate
Kamala.
you with flattery
he's
and
awesome.
favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have
I don't understand why he's
told me
he's
you
so
are a
criticized for
disgrace.
having
That
good
is why
diplomatic relations.
We understand that we
with
have to
North
have
Korea.
a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and
That's your hole.
respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week. Said, I hope
rates.
she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders
beer
of
two
other
now,
countries
Carolyn.
think that they're weak
Your beer
and
two?
incompetent,
Beer two.
and they
I'm
are.
almost on beer
They're
three.
grossly
Oh,
incompetent.
God. Well, yeah,
And
but
I
I've been
just ask
drinking
one
liquor too,
question.
so.
Why does
That makes
Biden go in
sense.
and kill the Keystone
careful.
pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the
Commercial.
National Constitution Center
Great.
right here
All right,
in
I want to hear what
Philadelphia.
Nick has to say. I want to hear his commentary. I want to know what he's thinking.
Okay,
Our
I'm going to
first
use a little
break.
goddess room.
Awesome debate.
Go.
Are you guys loving this?
No.
Let's take a quick poll. One's in the chat if you think Trump is winning. Two's if you think Kamala's winning.
Actually,
Let's take a snap poll in the live chat. I think Trump is winning.
Hang on.
I don't know how
Start a
like
poll.
libtards are liking this. Probably they're not. This is
I don't know
awesome.
if Trump is winning.
Trump is back. And I said, I thought he was going to lose,
Hang on.
but I said you can never count him out because when he gets under 10 health
All right.
points,
I put my poll
he's
in the
able to
chat.
pull something out miraculous.
I think
and
Trump is getting pissed off, and I
when
think
is the
that's
last
good,
time you've
actually.
seen Trump in this form? It's probably been at least 6 months. Because it started this way, actually. In this primary, he said, I am your retribution. They're poisoning the blood of our country. I mean, it was awesome. And then for like the past 6 months, it got really lame. And in the first debate, he was remember the first debate with Biden? I mean, Biden did really badly, but Trump was very mellow. And I think when she came with the personal attacks, something happened. A switch got flipped.
Trump got pissed.
It was like, now you are in the dungeon. You are in hell. Welcome to hell. You are in the monkey house of the zoo, and he's the king of the jungle in there. It reminds me of when he was in the debate with Hillary Clinton, he was towering over her. Remember that when he was towering over behind her, beating his chest?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing.
Like the primal dominance
that,
on display is unreal. I think it's
that
when she attacked the crowd.
I think that the saving grace of this night is that Trump is getting pissed off. I like pissed off Trump. I think pissed off Trump is good.
Agree.
Jennifer, what do you think? What's your opinion?
In terms of like who's winning, I don't think anybody is right now. I think Kamala had him by those short hairs in the beginning. She really had. She had the
Trump
lead.
was meek. He was like appropriate. He was everything that I hate.
He looked bored. He was like, why am I here? You know. And then I think Nick's absolutely right. As soon as she started thinking she's gonna be all clever, and then he just got it. He got the fire back. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. But nobody's winning right now. They're both kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really need him to answer questions specifically, though.
Well, I definitely agree with that. Trump did not do debate prep, and it's obvious that Kamala did debate prep and Trump did not do debate prep. And this is
Why
this
would
is what
you
I said.
not?
Well, because Trump is just fucking winging it because he underestimates Kamala because everyone around him is lying to him about Kamala. And it's like, Kamala's getting debate prepped, Kamala's getting groomed, Kamala's getting every advantage the Democratic Party can throw her, and Trump is just like hanging out in Mar-a-Lago playing golf. And it's like, come on. Anyway, we've got a couple super chats I want to take. They weaponized the GOJ. How many people in Kong Inc. will talk about Trump uttering those words and conveniently forget that last week they were trusting everything said about Tenet Media and Lauren Chen? That's a good point, Nuri, too. Seems like a little bit of hypocrisy there if I'm following. Murphy's Pool, thank you for the super chat. The debate is not going to change anyone's mind, and my male ovaries are huge. Thank you, Murphy's Pool. Thank you for that helpful piece of information. We love you, Murphy's Pool. We love you. Sometimes you make troll accounts and you piss me off, but I still love you. But just stop making those fucking troll accounts. But I still love you, and I appreciate you.
We love the Murphy.
Yeah.
He means well.
He does mean well, and he's never gonna get banned under his main accounts. But god fucking damn, do I hate those fucking troll accounts.
Got some really creative names, so you gotta hand it to him.
Yeah. Every time. All right, let's see what Nick's talking about.
As many times as you want, you will never not get returns. So I said this from the start. I said abortion is her issue. Don't get trapped. Don't get baited into a trap talking about IVF and abortion.
True.
Because everyone that cares about abortion is voting for her.
Yeah, and it's not even just that.
It's a thorny issue.
It's not even just that they're all voting for her. It's that the Democrats raise hundreds of millions of dollars off of abortion alone. The Democrats fund their entire youth voter outreach based on abortion. The Democrats recruit new voters on college campuses based on abortion alone. And it's like, it is such a fucking losing issue. And honestly, this isn't even Trump's fault. This is the Republican Party's fault because they won't let it go.
No. This has been a losing battle since the 70s for the Republicans.
Yeah. All right, we're back.
Oh, this is excellent.
Continue
I'm
here.
loving
I want
it.
to turn to the war
This
in
is the
Ukraine. We're now
Trump we
2.5
need to
years
see. This
into
is the
this
guy.
conflict.
I like
Mr.
that
President,
he's
it has been the
confident. I'm just not
position
as
of the
confident
Biden
anymore.
I love
administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody.
Look at her little
they don't even
face.
try to get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify on the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interests for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Oh, Biden?
I
She
believe
just
the
said
reason
Biden.
that Donald Trump
What an
says
idiot.
that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded.
I don't think
tried
Putin would meet
through
with her.
force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
The
And I met
rules-based
with
order.
President Zelensky. I
Jan,
shared with him
Biden is
American
Obama
intelligence
Biden.
about how he could defend himself.
That was like an
Days
old term
later,
for
I went to
them.
NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we
have to pay the bills
understand the
anymore.
importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin. And she did.
Yeah,
and the war
I think
started
I
3
have
days
to.
later.
I have
And
to.
that's the kind of talent we have with her.
Quiet, please.
She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I
This
said it at the
is
beginning
like
of this
3
debate,
on
you're going to hear a
1.
bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's
thank God
role
I'm not a
and
Democrat anymore.
responsibility
I don't have to pretend
in
to be
terms
on
of
board with any of this
ensuring that
shit.
there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
Oh my gosh.
You talked about
That's so
Ukraine
dumb.
and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO.
I
He
remember
said,
that.
I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
That was
4
such a
presidents
train wreck.
said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's
I need to pee.
taxpayers
I'll
are
be
not
right back.
paying
Hold
the
down the porch,
$300 million
Jennifer.
a day. We were
Okay.
paying for that endless war.
Me and Pete got it.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got
I'm pretty sure we
to
have
where we
troops
are.
in the
Donald
Middle
Trump, when he
East
was president,
on active duty and
negotiated
in
one of the weakest deals you can
the
imagine. He
Ukraine.
calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation
Wow.
involved the Taliban getting 5,000
He does have
terrorists,
mugshot face
Taliban
on.
terrorists released. And get this, get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans,
shut
a
up.
place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David
This goat.
because he does not, again, appreciate the role
I'm back.
and responsibility
I need
of the
another beer,
President of the
Jennifer.
United States
Third
to
beer.
be commander-in-chief
God.
with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the
Never.
work that we
He
must
has
do
never
to
done
uphold
that.
the
You shut
strength
your fucking
and the
hole.
respect of the United States of America
Liar,
around
liar,
the world.
Kamala.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with
thank
the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers,
Ooh.
a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time.
Which
but
one is
I got
that?
involved.
Pumpkin.
And Abdul, who's the head of the Taliban,
so
he
good.
is
It's
still the
Southern
head
here.
of
It
the
tastes
Taliban.
like pumpkin pie.
And I told Abdul,
Yummy.
don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send
Oh,
me
I
a
like the
picture of my
jack-o'-lantern.
house? I said, you're going to
I
have
know,
to figure
right?
that
It's
out,
cool.
Abdul.
Cool.
And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an
Cold.
agreement
Stone
negotiated
cold.
by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind.
Trump
and
said,
we
"I'll
wouldn't
kill
have
Why
left-
have you went
we
back
wouldn't have
on the
left
original agreement?
$85
And now those
billion
people will never
worth of
respect
brand
us
new
it or I'll
again.
beautiful
kill you.
military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement
They
said
blew
you
it.
have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
and
on.
these people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and
I
her
agree
boss
with
are.
that.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country.
Oh,
Mr.
God.
President, you
Race
recently
and
said Vice
politics.
President
That's
Harris,
not
quote,
fun.
I didn't know
what
she
we
was black
fucking
until a
needed."
number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she
Epic.
wants to be known as black.
Aura.
I want to ask a bigger picture question
The
here tonight.
stupid talking
Why do you
point.
believe
She's
it's
not black. That was
appropriate
the
to
dumbest
weigh in
talking
on the
point ever.
racial identity
Oh,
of your
shut
opponent?
up.
I don't, and I don't care.
I've heard a
I don't
lot of
care
black
what she is.
commentators on
I don't care.
YouTube that don't consider her
You make
that
a
way.
big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she
don't.
wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. I'm
I don't
asking-
know. I don't know. I mean, all
I
I can
still
say
don't think
is
it's
I
a good
read where
talking
she was
point.
not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Love it. Well, I don't
think
know.
it's.
Now
I
she's
mean,
black.
honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we
I'm
have.
trying to make it
shut
turban,
up.
but I don't. I think it came out
wants to
looking
be
more like
president who
Devo.
has
It looks like poo.
consistently over the course of his career
Literally, it
Shithead.
looks like the
attempted to use
swirl.
race to divide the
I'm
American
not saying it
people.
looks bad. I'm saying that's what it looks
You know,
like.
I
It looks
do
like
believe that the vast
swirl.
majority of us know
Who's
that we have so
swirl?
much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want
Dur.
this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was a land, he'd owned
Try
land,
getting
he
it
owned
out,
buildings.
dumbass.
What
and
happened?
he was
Where'd your lights
investigated.
go?
Where'd it go?
Come on, coconut
You
head.
pissed
He
off the light
refused to
god.
rent
We're back.
property to black families.
Well,
Let's remember, this is the same individual
they eat cats.
who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino
Bought once
boys
a
who
mohawk.
Guilty.
were
That's what I
innocent, the
can do.
Central
Guilty.
Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States.
Another
And I
fake
think
one.
the American people want better than that, want better than this. Want someone who understands, as I do, I
That's
travel
some
our
vintage
country.
trolling birther. God, I
We
haven't heard
see
that in a
each
long
other
time.
A friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in
All
the
right, Pot. There you
aspirations
go.
and the ambitions and the dreams of the
that's
American
cool.
people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger.
It's going to be
But they're
huge.
destroying our economy. They have no idea what a
The
good
biggest
economy is.
the best
Their
economy.
own policies,
Everyone
every
knows it.
single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad. And she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
Shut up.
One who believes in what
actually
is
do think
possible.
Trump is
One
winning.
who
I'm
brings
coming
a sense
around.
of
I am.
optimism.
Yeah, he's starting to
Shut
come.
up.
About what
He's starting
we
to get
can
into
do
his.
instead of
But
all
he
that
has to maintain
disparaging
this level
the
of
American
stop. He has to
people.
maintain it.
Annoying
I
That's gonna be
believe
the
in what we
key.
can do to strengthen our small
She's
businesses,
starting
which
to
is why
falter.
I
He's
have a
starting to
plan.
get
Let's
engaged.
talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
Now
To
she's
give
annoying.
startup businesses
Trump is
50
being
Gaslight,
annoying,
gatekeep,
and
girl boss.
masculine,
to
and awesome, and
pursue
Kamala's being
their
like,
ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a
Kamala
plan
is
that is
Karen.
about
Kamala
allowing
has
people
turned
to
into
be
a
able to
Karen.
pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation I believe, David,
All they want to
that
do is
people really
give
want
money
tonight,
out to people.
as
It's not
opposed to
your
a
money.
conversation that is constantly
not your
about
money.
belittling.
Quit
and
trying to
name
tell people you're
calling.
going to do with my money.
Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Yeah,
Let's
Mr.
turn
Hope,
to
Kamala.
policy, please.
To
Kamala.
defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President
She
Trump,
has
we do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
Yeah, Trump
fracking
is going
in
for it
Pennsylvania
now.
or anywhere else.
Come on.
That's what her plan is.
I heard that too, Murphy.
Lindsay, go ahead.
President Trump,
Maybe
The
President
former
Trump,
president has
maybe.
said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I just
going
need
to
to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to
Denied.
repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act,
Troll,
also
the
known
ultimate
as
troll.
Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care. Always was. It's not very good today.
Amen.
And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it. But remember this. I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration.
The best
we read
people.
about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still
Like I
never
did it.
going to be great, and it's too expensive for people.
It's not good.
And what
I
we
can't
will do
afford it.
is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it.
Let it go
But
back
until
to
then, I'd run it
capitalism.
as good as it can be
They
run.
don't compete
So
for
just
real
yes or no,
money
you
in
still do not
healthcare
have a plan.
anymore.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and
That's
less
so
expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a
No,
previous
don't
point
grow
that
it.
the former president has made.
She's the
I've made very
worst.
clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Come on.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the
He
time.
should have been able to do it.
I will never
Wish he
forget
had.
the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain,
I should get the
who
black
you have
MAGA hat. Do I have that here?
disparaged
W.
as being, you don't
I
like
do.
him, you said, at the time
Yay.
because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that
Fuck
night.
John McCain.
Walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't.
The late,
no, you
great
don't
John
get rid of the
McCain and
Affordable
Dick
Care Act.
Cheney,
You have
really?
no plan. And what the
Stop.
Affordable
Get
Care
outta
Act
here.
has done is eliminate the ability of insurance
put
companies
on
to deny people
the
with
black
pre-existing
MAGA hat.
conditions. I don't have to tell the people
It's
watching
on,
tonight. You remember
Jennifer.
what that
It's
was
over.
like?
It's over.
Remember when an
her.
insurance company could
Yeah, she's
deny
going all over the place.
if a
She's
child
lost her
had
bearings.
asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a
How did we get
grandparent
from-
had diabetes? And
How
thankfully,
do we get to breast
as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald
It's
Trump
not the
said he was
first
going to
time.
allow Medicare
Bush
to negotiate
tried it. Fucking Obama
drug
did
prices.
it.
He never did. We did.
Trump did it.
And now
Everybody
we
has
have capped
done
the cost
this.
of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege
No,
of those who can afford
Look
it.
how
get worried
confident
about
The
Trump
this.
plan
looks.
has to
Trump
be
looks
to
so,
strengthen the
spry and
Affordable Care Act,
condescending right now,
not
but
get rid of
it's
it.
also
Vice
adorable.
President
Pro-life
Harris,
Got the
in
thank
hop.
terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an
Look at
issue
her.
that's important
No,
for a
Trump's
lot
like,
Made a
of
mistake.
Nope.
Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for
Giddy
10
Nick
years.
is.
But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare. Much less money.
Why would you-
But she
why?
won't improve private insurance for people, private medical
Let
insurance.
them compete
Why
for
would
our
you
That's
do
real
another thing she
on
doesn't
this?
want to do. People are paying privately
Hey,
for
thanks,
insurance
Nisa. Thanks.
that have worked
Thanks.
hard
Yeah, I'll work
and
on that
made
Thai
money,
photo.
and they want to
Yeah,
have
I'll
private.
work on
She
it.
wants
Yeah.
everybody
heard
to
about
be
that,
on
you
government
cheeky monkey.
insurance where you wait 6 months for an
good picture,
operation
Jennifer.
that you
You
need
see
to
my
be
Thai
ready.
President
picture?
Trump, thank you.
Yes,
we have
I
another
did.
issue that we'd
They
like
look
to
good,
get to that's
right?
important
Yeah,
for
baby.
American
The
girls
Americans,
look
in
good in that
particular younger
picture.
voters,
Hell
and that's
yeah.
climate change. President Trump, with regard to the
Why are we
environment,
doing
you
this?
say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we
It
know
is.
is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now
I'm
is either being
experiencing
denied
extreme
home
heat
insurance
in
or
New
it's being
Hampshire, and
jacked
I
up.
want it to go away.
You ask anybody who has been
climate
the
changes.
victim of what that
If it
means in
hadn't-
terms of
has
losing
anybody
their
ever
home,
watched the
having
history of
nowhere
Europe?
to go.
Do
We
we
know
know?
that we can actually deal with this
It is
issue.
a
The young
thing.
people of
It's not
America care
man-made.
deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy while we have also
That has raised our
increased
energy
domestic
prices,
gas
so thanks for
production
that.
to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new
Yeah.
manufacturing jobs while I
Saltwater
have been vice
pearls,
president.
we
We have
know. She is a
invested in clean
scientist.
energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump
No,
said
yeah,
he
I
was
mean,
going
I
to create
wasn't saying it
manufacturing
wasn't real.
jobs.
It is
He lost
real.
manufacturing
It's
jobs.
not man-made, and it's
I'm
not
also
accelerating
proud
the way
to
they
have the
say it
endorsement
is.
of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto
from
plants,
climate
not
change to
closing
American
them like happened
manufacturing.
under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
I don't even
It
want to
didn't
listen to
happen
her
under
anymore. I'm
Donald
already
Trump. Let
bored.
me just tell you, they lost 10,000
I'm like, I don't
manufacturing
care.
jobs
I don't
this
care.
last
Trump
month.
Glad I
won.
have this.
It's going, they're all
Trump
leaving.
won.
They're building
Yeah.
big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back
I
in a moment.
want to hear what Nick has to say, but come on. It's
All
turned
right.
around. I'm back on board. I'm back on board.
Second last break. I think this debate is ending, so they're going to do a break. They're going to come back for closing statements. Yeah, that section was a little weaker. I'm not going to lie. Wasn't great. You know what's really funny? First of all, follow this channel. This is our biggest stream ever. We're at about 45,000 viewers. We peaked at 47, 48,000 earlier.
Congratulations.
So make sure to follow this channel. I'm going to take the time to shill before the closing statements.
Oh, come on.
So
All
follow.
right, if Nick is going to shill, Jennifer, what is your opinion? We can meet him. He's not here.
I think that Trump is definitely back. He's turned it around. He's gunning for home plate. He's sick of her shit. Kamala has. I'm going to crown her officially the queen of rambles, because she has just rambled herself into corner after corner, and then she tries to circle back, and it's failing miserably. She is not doing well. She sounds like she was really prepared in the beginning, and now she's just flustered. She's lost all her training. She's too sober. Her blood alcohol level is dangerously low, and I think she's having a hard time thinking clearly.
Are you saying Kamala needs a snack?
She needs one of these, a little snack.
She needs a snack. Yep.
Yep.
She needs a snack. She needs a Snickers, as it were, a rum infused Snickers. No, I agree though. I think like Kamala, I felt like Kamala was stronger in the beginning, and I even felt like when she was looking at Trump with that condescending look at the beginning, it kind of gave me like Trump was the child and Kamala was like, oh, that's cute, honey, that's cute.
She does that.
But I actually think it kind of read well for people who were like not on board with Trump to be like, okay, well, she's kind of looking down on him. She's like authoritative or whatever. But it's completely changed now because Trump got pissed.
Yep.
He got pissed. And this is the Trump that I have been wanting to see all campaign long. And this is the Trump that I don't think Trump's campaign advisors would recommend he be. And this is the Trump that I want. I want pissed off Trump that just doesn't give a fuck. And I want him just to go at her. And I think that she doesn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, I think if he rattles her, he's golden. He's got to keep her unstable.
Yep. Hey, look at this. Nick Fuentes is at 99.9 thousand followers. We could watch Nick Fuentes cross 100,000 followers on Rumble. That's exciting for him.
Yay!
That's exciting for our boy over there.
He's growing up.
He's all grown up. He's decided to lose his virginity. He's decided to have kids with a white lady to perpetuate the.
I think good about that, but he does need to get his noodle dipped.
He does. Well, he needs to get married first. We need to find him a good Catholic virgin.
How's he going to have time to date? He's so busy, like, being here all the time.
He said he was going to put an application up on his website.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he said he was going to put out an application. Yeah, he said.
Because that's organic.
You
so
know
he's going
what?
to do his own video dating, essentially.
Jennifer, Nick lives in Chicago.
Oh.
He,
There's a lot
yeah,
of chicks there.
See, but it's a lot of leftist chicks, and Chicago's very socialist, and I think
Very
he needs
true.
to he does need to have a screening system. Nick is wealthy and famous, and he doesn't want to just settle on anyone. He wants a Catholic, Italian, hot, young virgin.
Oh, good luck, honey pie.
and we want him to find his young, hot Italian Catholic virgin. We
Does
wish
he have
Nick
to
the
be a
very
virgin?
best. Yes.
Because Catholic girls are naughty as hell.
I think Nick wants her to be a virgin. I think it's very
Okay,
important
honey,
to him.
you gotta lie in your application. Just tell him you are. Just act surprised when you see his dick for the first time. Ooh, is that what they look like?
Listen. I've always thought that Italian men. I've never had a problem with Italian men.
Italian men are fun to date, but they're very mommy's boys.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a mommy's boy. That's definitely very true. But
I can't stand that shit.
But in terms of the situation, I've never seen it be a problem. Even if they were smaller in stature, I've never seen it be a problem. That's all I'm saying.
We got it going on in the cannoli avenue, let me tell you.
That's what I'm saying. The cannoli
baby.
is always more than adequate.
Very beefy.
I don't
Meat-filled, extra cheese, lots of sauce. Yes, it's delicious.
Exactly. All right, we're back. No more talking about Nick's penis. Okay, we're back.
No cannoli jokes.
And Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us.
Just
we can
stop.
chart a
Thank
new
you.
way
Thank you.
forward.
Thank you.
And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about
I gotta see what
giving
Rachel Maddow says about
hardworking
this. I
folks
gotta
a
see
break
it.
and bringing
I
down
gotta
the
see it.
cost
Oh,
of
she's
living.
gonna fawn.
I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people.
Oh my God.
And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a
I don't
Democrat?
know, that she
The only thing I ever
free
asked them,
labor
are
by
you okay?
making guys stay in their
And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughing. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center.
Panic
I'm
Pete
Lindsay
would like to
Davis.
put
And I'm
his,
David Muir. Thank
his
you for
her
watching here in the
application
U.S.
in
and
the
all
debate.
over the
Look,
world,
that
and from
looks
all of
great.
us here at
Oh,
ABC
yeah.
News.
Ooh.
Good night.
Wow.
Kizzy, kizzy, Nick.
There you have it. The second presidential debate.
I want to see what.
But
MSNBC
don't
has
go
to
anywhere
say.
because we're going to do a little live reaction analysis. We're going to look at the flash polling. Usually they do
I
a
wanna
focus
see what
group and they do a
MSNBC has
flash
to say. Hang
poll
on,
about
let me load it.
who
focus
won.
groups.
So I'm very interested.
Hang on.
Oh,
Let's see.
God.
Let's see what Rachel has to say. Oh, hang on.
Rachel mad now. She doesn't have her own opinions. She just like regurgitates what they tell her to, and then she gets mad at it with it. Mad for
Yep.
mad.
We're doing
sake.
some post debate. Oh, Joy
Angry,
Reid still looks like a clown.
Squinting. I never saw
Yep.
the whites of his eyes the entire debate.
Oh.
Shouting, constantly interrupting himself, not just going down tangents, but being
relevant,
unable to
totally
finish a
relevant.
thought, seeming very frustrated, very angry, very negative, and very tired. In contrast, Kamala Harris appeared to be sort of light on her feet, quite puzzled by him. The two-shot of him squinting and hunching and seeming to be having physical trouble squeezing the words out, certainly squeezing the sentences out, while she just looked at him absolutely puzzled
Condescending.
by where it was he was going. I think that visual may be as much of a takeaway as anything that was said. That said, boy, what was
Yeah,
said?
true average person.
Trump repeatedly
True.
coming back
Oh,
to the
wrong
same
thing.
lines
Hang on, there
over
we
and
go.
over again about world crime rates being low, and that being the explanation for America having high crime rates. He said strange things like all Democrats wanted Roe versus Wade overturned. He said that it is legal to kill children in the United States. He insisted
did not
that he
say
saw
that.
something on television about eating dogs. That was one of the weirdest moments of the debate, saying he saw it on television,
Somebody's
so
dog
therefore
got
he knows
eaten,
it's true,
ate
and
his
so therefore
dog.
what the police said about it can't be true. Kamala Harris kept going back to her plan, her campaign, but also
normies
kept going
trying to
directly at
interpret
him.
the debate.
She
Oh
told
my
him
God.
that military leaders who have worked with him have told her that Donald Trump is a
This is
disgrace.
like my mother trying
And
to
she said
interpret what
him
happened.
that
Like,
you
Carla, they
are
were
a
talking about
disgrace.
eating dogs.
She described him as confused and unable to
Yes,
understand
a
that
whole
he lost
15
the
minutes of the
election.
debate was
She said he
dedicated to
was fired
it.
by 81 million people,
Don't make me
and he's
explain
having a
that.
very difficult time processing.
It's not
that.
our fault
She said he
Haitians
was
have an
handed
average IQ of
$400 million
65,
on a
okay?
silver platter
Oh,
and
dear.
then
Not our
filed
fault.
bankruptcy 6 times. She said people leave
did you
his
hear the
rallies
guy that was saying
early
that the
due to
Haitians were
exhaustion and
going to the
boredom.
city park and like
Talking about the
hunting the
Russia-Ukraine war, she
ducks?
said
Yeah,
Putin would
yeah, I
be
heard about
sitting
that.
Their
in
heads
Kyiv
off and then
if
walking
he were
away with the
president,
ducks.
with
Well,
his
they do
eyes
have
on the
an
rest
average
of
IQ
Europe,
of 65,
starting with
so we're
Poland.
talking about
And why
people,
don't you tell the
like-
800,000 Polish
with the
Americans
Haitians,
right here in
that's actually kind of terrifying because, like, not to derail or anything, but like, think about what someone could like. The average IQ in Haiti is 65.
I have no idea.
The
Is it?
average?
Oh,
Like, I
boy.
mean, like to be a below par janitor in this country, that's like an 85 IQ. Like just imagine, like these are people who
So,
can't.
I mean,
who can't,
don't associate the job with the IQ. I mean,
well, no. But but this is just reality. I'm not shitting on janitors or anything. Like, janitors are a very necessary part of our society. But I'm just saying, like, these are people who don't understand the alphabet. Jennifer.
Yeah.
These are not and it's not their fault.
I think that
but-
I think it has a lot more to do though with like that they're just used to hunting and getting food out in their world, And here we view ducks as part of nature. We don't hunt the ducks. And they're here like, oh, look at that. Go, and they just like 30 leaving duck heads in the parks and walking off with them. And it's like, it's a cultural thing, I would say, more than an IQ thing. But yeah, it's upsetting what's happening. And nobody is trying to, because remember, Melting Pot, we're supposed to like integrate and help people to acclimate to our society. That is not happening anymore.
We can't help people with an average IQ of 65.
The Drudge
I don't mean to
Report
be a
has
dick,
a picture of him with
but
the
like
cat
there's
saying
just
it's over.
reality.
I mean, and to the
We need
degree
to
that
send
it's our
them
job to
back
cover what the
to
campaigns
Haiti
do.
on
and
the
all the
political
illegals.
apparatus. The Trump
They
campaign
do.
is
Send them
going
back.
to plans B, C, and D, and they have them. You know, they're dark and they're dirty and they're heinous.
What do you mean?
You know, they're going to the types of things that Trump tweeted about, the threats, the retribution, the placement of
that picture
allies
of
on
Trump.
election boards as they've done in the state of Georgia. Because this did not win Trump any new voters.
You know, we are now seeing maybe the second presidential debate in history where Poland might be the deciding issue. that point you isolated, 800,000 Polish people.
They're going to
in the
avoid
state
all her
of
talking points
Pennsylvania.
and just trash any
Kamala
little
Harris
soundbite they
reached out
can.
directly
from
to
Trump.
those voters. If she got 10,000 of them to focus on the threat to Poland that Vladimir Putin represents, she may have won the presidential election in that particular response. Let's start at the beginning. When they entered, I was wondering what was going to happen. Would there be a handshake?
Yeah.
We're going to see that video more than once. It's Donald Trump running away from her.
That's
it's
not, he's
Donald
not
Trump
running away,
trying
he's
to
leading
turn
in.
away.
He's got both
as the
hands
adult
on
in
her
the room
handshake. That's
approaches
not
and
running
crosses
away.
to
Running
do what
away.
every presidential candidate
He's
before
got-
her has
what
done
the
in that
fuck are you
situation, which is
looking
to
at,
extend
Lauren?
her
Look at her
hand
body
to
language.
the
She's
other
leading
candidate,
out.
and Donald Trump runs away from it
As they're-
until he can't. She literally
Okay,
has
now they're
to
both engaged.
corner him to shake his
Bodies
hand,
pivoting
and she
towards each
doesn't.
other, and then
Two
she
things I would
tries
point
to
out
leave the handshake
quickly
before
about
he
it.
does.
You
tell me
heard
he's
the
running away.
person who was
God.
president
See,
of the
watch
United
her. She's
States
trying to leave
on
before he
January
does.
6th
Yep.
say
But
to the
notice
American
he brought
people,
her
I
into his
wasn't
space.
responsible
He
for
made her
security.
cross to his where
President of
his
the United
podium
States,
was.
Commander-in-Chief is what this job is about, and he's saying when they're attacking the Capitol and I'm doing
You
nothing
think
for 2
Kamala won
hours and more
Murphy's
than 2
Pool,
hours,
really?
I wasn't responsible for security.
Why? Why do you
Another
think
thing
Kamala
isolated
won? I'm
where he
honestly
said
intrigued.
that Democrats and everyone
I think he said My
wanted
Apolitical.
Roe
Is that a
versus Wade
publication
overturned.
or a website?
Here's the problem with that lie. That's his worst
No, he's
lie of the
saying
night.
he's like not invested.
Because he was lying
Apolitical,
to the
like,
voters
yeah.
about the voters. He was lying about you.
He was
and you
capitalized,
know
that's
it.
why I wondered.
More than 60% of the country is sitting there saying, he's lying about me. I'm a Republican and I didn't want Roe overturned. I'm a Democrat. I'm an independent. I didn't want Roe overturned. He actually lied directly to the voters about the voters.
Joy?
I think the moment that the debate went completely sideways for Donald Trump was the moment when
You guys
Vice
want me to go
President
back to
Harris
Nick?
was very smart about saying she's not the only person. This was an answer about immigration. David.
All right, people are saying to go back to Nick.
But
for
it's
some
not a
of this.
surprise. The betting market said 89% chance they talk about abortion. And obviously they did. That's the Democrats' platform. They should have known. The Republicans should have known every one of those questions in advance because it was obvious. And they should have been prepared for them.
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
that's what it's been. And
Let's
they've been
check in
struggling with it for a long
CNN.
time. And we're in the
Let
end
me
game
get
here. It's
CNN
September.
up.
You need to have an answer. And it's like I said, he wasn't prepared. I said at the beginning, they're going to do abortion. It's going to be her moment. She's going to.
Let's see what
Oh,
CNN has
Milo's
to say.
saying there's 100K on Nick's 100K subscribers on.
Yay, Nick got 100K followers. Congratulations, Nick. We're still going to CNN.
Baffled by his line
I
of
appreciate
defense.
you, Nick.
Losing a battle of
100,000
expert
followers,
witnesses
that's a
you're
big
talking
deal.
about.
Let's watch
Talking about
CNN.
national security advisors, talking about
That's
Nobel
great, though.
laureates,
That's
talking
good
about
for
the
him,
whole
man.
litany of
Good for
people
him.
Yeah.
who do not buy
a lot of
what
hard
he's
work,
selling.
man.
Also, very well trained and
Good for
seasoned
him.
and knowing how to grapple with somebody who is going to possibly be bombastic, petulant, defensive, and have a derailed effort.
Oh, are we not
She
listening
focused
to
on
sound?
all
Can you
of
hear the
those
sound?
things. I saw somebody who, when she
I can
came
hear
out,
it.
allowed
Okay,
me to
okay. I
reintroduce
got an
myself.
error.
My name is Kamala Harris. On behalf of Kamala Harris. She came out with that in mind, and I think she executed. Now, Donald Trump tried to derail her a number of times, but notice I'm saying the words Donald Trump in the way she did. It wasn't President Trump. She was referring to him as similar as you would in a courtroom, the defendant, under his title, reminding you of what, how did she phrase it? What he left us with. It was a really dynamite performance.
So, Anderson, I mean, his lack of parrying, his lack of making Kamala Harris and the Biden-Harris record the focus. I mean, if you watched this debate and you didn't know that she was the incumbent vice president, you saw a debate where Donald Trump was really on defense, and he and his record were the subject of the debate, not the incumbent leader.
Kamala Harris did tonight what no governor, senator, politician, business person who has run against him in primaries in 2016, and certainly anything he faced in 2020, has figured out what no one else figured out how to do. Certainly Marco Rubio didn't figure it out by going after little hands. He debased himself, as many have. I want to show just some key moments where she needled Donald Trump on the most sort of obvious, basic things that we all know he has said, we all know are weak points, to devastating
This is
effect.
a different. It's like looking into an alternate reality, isn't it?
Let's talk about what
it
Donald
illustrates
Trump
the idea
left
of like
us.
alternate timelines.
Donald Trump left us
Right.
the worst
It helps people
unemployment since the
conceptualize
Great
this idea that
Depression.
we're in two
Donald
different
Trump
places.
left us the worst public
I don't
health
see understand why when I
epidemic
talk
in a
to
century.
people on the left
Donald
that are
Trump
completely
left us
brainwashed by it,
the worst attack
why they
on our
think the way they do.
democracy.
Yeah, because
I get
this
it,
is
and I'm
the,
like,
this is the media they consume. This is
yeah.
it.
Like, well, he said this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, oh, because your the three channels you watch have all said the same thing. They get scripts from the same people. They all say the exact same thing.
No. Look,
You will
Harris
see during the
repeatedly
course of
urges
his
voters
rallies,
to
he
turn
talks
the
about
page
fictional
on
characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will
Hannibal
talk about
Lecter.
windmills
That
cause
is-
cancer.
that is immortal.
And what you will also
Hannibal
notice is that
Lecter.
people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
Can
And
we
I
just
will tell
get,
you
like,
the one thing you will
an
not hear him
AI
talk about
deep
is
fake
you.
of
If
Trump
you want to
doing
really
the
know
I ate
the
his liver
inside
with some
track
fava
on who
beans
the former
speech, 'cause
president
I think that
is,
would be
if you didn't
epic.
make it clear
That'd be
already,
pretty great.
just ask people who have worked with him.
John King, it was the moment she talked about his crowd size of all things, and people, not even was crowd size, it was people being bored and leaving
now,
his rallies early.
If you watch this
I don't
debate,
think he ever recovered
and you
from
walked
that.
away
He
from
was-
it,
He started
can
shouting,
you say
and he
where
never stopped.
Kamala
She
Harris
triggered him there.
stands
I think
on
she was
any of
uneven
these
at the top.
points?
Not a bad answer, first answer in the economy, but not a
Could
great
you
answer.
could you
She got a
recount
footing
even
during the
now
abortion
where
conversation,
does she
where
stand
she
on
felt
any
more
of these
comfortable, and then she triggered
issues?
him with the people
Well,
leave your
she's in
rallies.
favor of Israel.
And he lost it. And he was angry from that moment on. His voice.
I've got
changed.
that-
He
I've
started
got that
angry.
message.
He told a lot of
She's
lies.
in favor of
Everything else gonna be up all
abortion.
night. We should start a
Yes,
GoFundMe.
all of it,
His
except for the
espresso
stuff
machine.
that she said
He
she's
would-
not,
he
which
did.
changes.
And so what did she do?
She's
She triggered him on
pro-Ukraine.
COVID,
I understand
January 6th
that.
democracy, abortion,
Did she
chaos,
address that in
lies,
this? I don't
and
even
his
remember.
Yes, she is very
What are those?
pro-Ukraine. She wants
Those
us
are
to
the
defend
issues that
Ukraine.
turned the American
Okay.
suburbs away from
I
So
don't know
that's
anything
pro
else.
war,
lost the
pro war,
2020
two
election.
counts of that.
Those are the voters
Yeah.
who were
Abortion.
waiting to see if she could stand there and be a plausible president.
I
next to
didn't
him.
really
She
catch
cleared
her
that bar.
stance on
That doesn't
energy
get you
other
on the
than
votes,
Trump
but
is
she cleared
leaning
that
into
bar with
Kamala.
8
How
weeks
are
left
they
in the
saying
election.
that? Like,
She stood
come
next to a
on.
former
he
president,
ran.
and she more
I
than
don't know
held
where
her
they're
own.
they're
And
just
on
saying
many
it
of
to
the
say it
issues,
because they
she
want
spooked
all they
him.
have
She
to do
simply
is
spooked him
direct the
because she
narrative. That is
triggered
all
him
they have
into
to do. It
his
doesn't
lies
matter if it's
and
true.
into his anger, which does not sell well
They're
with
just making it up.
the middle
Mm-hmm.
of the electorate that will decide things 8 weeks from tonight.
You know, I've been involved in a lot of these. I helped prepare a
David
candidate
Axelrod.
for these debates, 6 of them.
Wow, that's a name I haven't heard
and
in
I've
a
been
while.
watching them since I was a little boy. I've scarcely seen a one like this. And the degree to which
That's
she
not a good
dominated
picture.
this. And, you know, part of it was butt kicking, and part of it was.
You were right.
kind
She
of
didn't do any of the
someone doing
cackling.
themselves in.
I told you,
said
she's been
earlier
trained.
jokingly
Yeah.
that, you know, when they said he's a Muhammad Ali in the debates.
Well, it's
that,
because somebody was
you know,
talking
their fear
about
has to
babies
be
being
he knocks
slaughtered and she
himself out.
laughed at
He
it.
kinda
And
helped,
she got
but she
heavily
set
criticized
him
for
up, as
that.
John said. But these things are more than about issues. These things are tests. These campaigns, these debates, they're oral exams for the hardest job on the planet. And people judge you in these moments, and they judge whether you have the mettle.
No, I'm still
to
not
stand
voting
up
for
to that
Trump, just to be
pressure,
clear. I think Trump won.
to be
But
coherent,
I'm still
to
not
deliver
voting
a
for
case.
Trump. I mean, I'm sorry to break
And
anyone's
she
hearts.
certainly
Jennifer's
did that
voting for
tonight.
Trump,
Man,
so you got one of us tonight.
She just whooped him.
No, that's not
And
because of
I
the
think
debate.
that
I
there's
just
been
like Trump.
a
I've always liked
desire-
Trump.
You know,
I've been
good
watching his
fiction is
political
like
commentary
wish fulfillment.
since the
Like, you know,
90s.
you watch a movie because
And
you
I've
want
watched
something
his
to happen,
evolution,
like
and
some great romance.
his opinions
People have
changed and
wanted
how
to see
he's
somebody put this
getting
bully in his
more and more
place.
engaged. And I
And
just
people have
really like
watched
him.
contender after
Van
contender
Jones was
failed
just
to
like,
put him
she
in his
whooped
place.
him.
She
Based
got
on
up there and she put him in
what?
his place. She baited him and then she spanked him. She baited him and then she spanked him. And
I think
and
he's
not only did
he's
she
talking
pass the
about a
commander-in-chief
personal
test,
fantasy
he
here.
failed
I
it.
think so.
He
That's a
failed
little.
it. Do
That's
you
a little
want
much.
this guy dealing with a dictator when he can literally just be? I mean, you could see the
He's
punches
literally a
coming. He couldn't
dictator.
get out of the way.
Van Jones just
I
said,
mean, if
like,
you can
like,
so
you know,
unhinge
how
somebody by
can
saying
he deal
people
with a
leave your
dictator if he
rally,
deals with a
any
woman
world
like
leader
this?
can
He was like this
manipulate
close.
you into anything. Can't
So I think that she passed the test. He failed it. But I think also she was speaking for the people. She really was speaking for the people. I think the right wing may not see it, but she kept coming back to a middle class background. He kept talking about
All right,
himself
let's
and
go back to
himself.
Nick and see what he has to say about this.
Aegis, and it's clippable. It's good fodder for the
we'll go to
sound
Fox
bites and the
News.
clips, which is what matters.
I do want to see what.
But then
Fox
other
is
times
saying.
I'm putting my head in my hands. I'm like,
Yeah,
what are you
we got Fox
talking
News.
about? They ask him about abortion. He's talking about like student loans, and you're just like, what's going on, man?
I agree. That was lack of.
I don't even
debate
know what
prep.
we're doing.
Lack of debate prep.
So-
Come on.
But
Why
that's
is
who
Chris
he
Christie
is.
still relevant? I don't understand.
And like I said
not.
at the very beginning,
Look at
like
that
a
guy,
hot
though.
dog
It's a
with
good
a
and that's
guy.
smear
just how I
mustard.
feel. This is what we got.
All right,
Is
let's do
officially now in the
Sean
books.
Hannity.
In just a moment, we're going to get reaction from Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Ted Cruz, Trump's running mate J.D. Vance, and Robert Kennedy Jr. But first, in case you missed it, here's how it all went down.
I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and
No
4 years ago is
education
out the
tonight.
window.
No
She's going to my
education
philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA
Nothing.
hat.
That's
She's
true.
gone to my philosophy. But
We are
if she
so
ever got
fucked on
elected, she'd
education, it's
change
not
it.
even funny. No
And
one cares.
yeah.
it will be the end of our country.
are
She's a
fucked.
Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question,
you
would you
could
veto?
do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month.
not true.
They allowed criminals,
gross.
many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And then now in the United States, fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay?
All right, what you didn't hear tonight was any substance from Kamala Harris about pretty much anything. She delivered a lot of pre-rehearsed, memorized platitudes, lines, plenty of attacks. This was, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, and I hate Trump more. Anyway, with lots of kind of weird faces and expressions, we still don't have answers where she stands on defunding the police, electric vehicle mandates, mandatory gun confiscation, which she lied about, Medicare for all, the $93 trillion Green New Deal she co-sponsored in the U.S. Senate with Bernie Sanders, banning plastic straws, reducing red meat consumption up to a 70 or 80% income tax rate. Bidenomics, we call it Bidenomics, and we're proud of it. Offshore drilling, fracking, decriminalizing illegal immigration, free housing, health care, education, college
They
education.
really didn't get into
and now
the
sex
illegal
change,
immigration question
surgery
very much.
Provided
No,
by
'cause
I would have liked
taxpayers.
that
We
question
didn't hear
harder.
about the
Flubbed
border
it.
wall
He
that she was
flubbed it. He
against
could've
it. Now
answered it
she's
better.
for.
He
And
did flub
we didn't
it.
hear about illegal immigrants and returning home, late-term abortion. She didn't answer the question about restrictions, about months 7, 8, and 9, and the list goes on and on. Left-wing moderators, the biggest loser of the night, ABC Disney, Bob Iger's network. It was a disgrace. They barely asked her about important issues. We've got 56 days until an election. Early voting starts in this Commonwealth in 7 days. You know, in between so-called fact-checking and clapbacks
That
only
close.
against Donald Trump, because Kamala didn't offer any details on her own.
We're so
As predicted,
fucked.
tonight's debate was 3-on-1. Anyway, joining us now from the spin room, Florida Senator, my senator, free state of Florida,
Marco Rubio
Senator,
was
how are you?
awful.
Thank you. He was doing a big
Yeah.
gaggle before. I walked over and
What's
tapping him on the
going
back.
on?
He's my
Aged.
senator.
Whoa.
Great to see you.
He's aged dramatically.
The biggest, I think, failure for the country tonight was ABC.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to journalism. I mean, it's
almost didn't recognize him.
literally. There was times where they would say, "Donald Trump, why did you do or say this horrible thing?" And then the question to Kamala Harris is, "What do you think about the horrible thing that Donald Trump did?" There was no. Listen, no, they didn't ask her. Grocery bills are up 50% from 2020. 50%. What do you say about that?
Now
Kamala
that would have
Harris?
been
How
a
are you gonna
list
deal
of
with that?
facts that
They
would have
didn't ask her about the
benefited
They
Trump
let her
to
get
have
away
on
with this lie
hand.
that Joe Biden
Yup.
didn't withdraw us
If
from
he had done
Afghanistan.
debate prep.
Joe Biden was run out of Afghanistan in humiliating fashion. Even the fact checkers were wrong, where she said, "Oh, there's no state in the country where there's a lot." There are multiple states in this country,
Yeah.
including Tim Walz's Minnesota, where if a baby is born in a botched abortion, they allow the baby to die. Okay? And then they let her get away with not answering what restrictions she would be supportive of.
See, this is a frustrating thing is when you have 3-on-1 and you have a fact like you just laid out about Tim Walz and his position on late-term abortion, and Donald Trump was 100% right. He was talking about Governor Northam. Well, first the baby will be born and we'll make the baby comfortable, and then the doctor will talk to the mother. But that's not the point. Months 7, 8, and 9. Even people I know that are pro-choice, that would be infanticide.
Of course. But here's the bottom line. Americans know Donald Trump. He was their president. He's been campaigning now since 2016. They know his positions. They know very little about Kamala Harris. Tonight, for the first time, despite the best efforts of these moderators, Americans began to learn that this was someone who was raising money to bail rioters out of jail. This was someone who said she wanted to defund ICE. This was someone who basically said that we should be paying for the sex change operations of illegal migrants in detention. This was someone who accused the Border Patrol of whipping Haitian migrants at the border.
She
And
does
this is someone
support
that
it,
has been
though.
in the White House for 4 years, talking about all these things she's going to do. They've done none of them. She
Again,
talks about
Trump is
immigration in
leaning
this
in.
bill. They have
Yep.
the power in the law right now to enforce our immigration laws. She has no campaign plan. She just unveiled her policy plan. It was literally, I'm not saying this, New Republic, a liberal left-wing magazine is saying it. She literally cut and pasted from the Joe Biden
She did cut and
platform.
paste it.
And so think about it.
But
She is
Senator-
Joe Biden and worse because of what she stood for in 2019.
56 days. Just bear with me the list. No restrictions on abortion for him and for her and her running mate. Mandatory gun buyback. She lied about that at the end of the debate. No border wall. Decriminalizing illegal immigration. Free housing, health care, education. Free college in Minnesota. Legal driver's licenses. We've had murder. We've had rape. We've had violent crime. And now we're going to offer what? Taxpayer-funded sex change operations. She supports reparations. The $93 trillion Green New Deal, which would be the end of capitalism. She co-sponsored it.
Oh, come on.
Government health care for all, the elimination of private
I
health
hate
insurance.
conservatives
How does
so much.
ABC
I
not
hate
bring
Green New
that
Deal
up?
is
Not a single
bad,
one of those
though.
things was asked.
Well, it is
Not
bad, but
bring
it's not the
up-
end of
well,
capitalism.
I'm
That's
not
just
saying
not
radical
true.
Islamic
And this is
terrorism or
like,
illegal
But
alien-
President Trump did
the
a
more
good
they
job of
say
injecting
this,
that
the
in there.
more
And in the
people
end
are
of the
just
debate, he said the
misinformed.
most important thing, and that is she's been there for 4 years. All these things she's promising, they haven't done.
Not saying it's
and
good, but it's
frankly,
not
she
the end
wouldn't
of
answer the most
capitalism.
important
That's
question
just
she
not
was
true.
asked all night. Are Americans, she was asked this, are Americans better off today than they were 4 years ago? She didn't even answer it. She went on to talk about how she was born to a middle-class family, raised in Canada for part of that time in what apparently is not a middle-class neighborhood. But nonetheless, she went into her biography, and I think she was exposed tonight. The talking heads, they analyze this because they all want to pretend like Kamala Harris was born on July 24th of this year. She has a record. She has a record as a senator, and she has a record as vice president. And Americans tonight got a glimpse of what she really believes, what she really stands for, and what direction she'll actually take our country. And I think that was a big win, big win.
Does this move the needle in your view?
I think it does, because
Taylor
there's a lot of
Swift
voters.
just
Remember, voters
endorsed
in the real
Kamala
world
Harris
don't
for
analyze this like the
president.
people that
It's
talk on
over.
cable news. They're viewing it in their mindset. Okay, who's this lady? And they start hearing these
All
things.
the
Hold on a second. She
Swifties.
helped bail
Oh,
out rioters. Hold on a second. She
no.
wouldn't answer the question about at what point should an abortion not be allowed. The day before the due date. She wouldn't
Oh,
answer
no,
that
it's
question.
over.
They pick up
Honestly,
on
if
these
you
things.
look to a
And for her
pop
brag
star to
about
tell you how to
Afghanistan, she
vote,
bragged about Afghanistan.
I
Okay, she
mean,
said Joe Biden.
rub your
got
two
us out.
brain
He
cells
was
together
run
a
out of there.
little harder.
And not only was he run out of there, we lost $90 billion worth of American equipment that they're parading down the street. There are a lot of real people in the real world who are not political junkies who are going to vote and decide this election, who watched tonight. They saw the man that was president, and they remember their lives were better when he was president. They were safer. They were more prosperous. We were more respected in the world. And then they saw this person. They didn't know a lot about her, and now they're beginning to learn facts about her that I think will be decisive.
Senator, great to see you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Now, according to the Washington Post, the Harris campaign is now saying they want a second debate. What does that tell us? Joining us with more reaction to tonight's debate, Texas Senator Ted Cruz is with us.
She's so
Senator,
my
how do you
heart.
interpret that and your overall thoughts on the debate tonight?
Yes.
Well, listen, I'm skeptical that Kamala's team will have her do a second debate. I think they're going to back out of that. I think they're going to send her back to Joe Biden's basement. I think we probably will not see Kamala emerge again from the basement, sort of like the groundhog in her shadow.
There we go.
She's not going to come out again from the basement
There
until
you go.
election night,
It's
other
like
than
Meghan
to
Markle.
go to for rallies
That's a
and
Meghan
read
Markle hat.
from
Yes.
teleprompters. And listen, I got to
ready
say
for Brittany
tonight,
Downs.
what Kamala demonstrated is, number one, she cannot defend her disastrous record. Her record is an absolute train wreck. So instead, what she did, what we saw tonight in this quote debate, was her repeating memorized set pieces from her stump speech and from her convention speech.
Well, that's
the
true.
very opening question, the most important
That's true,
question
Ted
in any
Cruz.
election. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? She refused to answer that because she couldn't answer that, because nobody, unless you are a Mexican drug lord, nobody else is better off than they were 4 years ago. So she didn't answer that. Instead, she's like, I'm from a middle-class family. I want things better for you. And no aspect on inflation. She didn't address that she cast the tie-breaking vote on trillions of dollars of spending that caused inflation, hurting Americans across this country. On energy, she didn't address that she and Joe Biden have waged war on American energy over and over and over again, driving up the cost of gasoline and everything else for Americans. On the border, she didn't address her own personal responsibility, the invasion, the crime, the murders, the women sexually assaulted, the children brutalized. She didn't take responsibility for any of that. And then on foreign policy, I actually thought on foreign policy she was the weakest. It was absurd when she turned to Donald Trump and says, well, everyone knows you were weak and ineffective. Listen, if Donald Trump were still in the White House, the two wars that broke out under her leadership and Joe Biden's would not have happened. Russia would not have invaded Ukraine, and we would not have the war in Israel. And she took no responsibility for that weakness, nor did she have a word to say about the over $100 billion that she and Joe Biden have flowed to Iran. All of her records she ran away from, and I got to say, the ABC moderators were complicit in her running a completely fact-free debate performance.
I think that's well said, Senator. I mean, and there's so much that we don't understand. Defund, dismantle, reimagine, ICE, the police, the mini-app. They wanted to talk about January 6th. There was 600 riots in the summer of 2020. She tweets out the Minnesota bail fund 4 days after the police precinct is burned. And, you know, they won't stop. They shouldn't stop. We're not going to stop. All things that she said. 18 to 24-year-olds are stupid. Abolish the filibuster to pass the Green New Deal. Inflation is transitory. The border's secure. We're proud of Bidenomics. The country needs to be woke. We'll never deport illegal.
Let's see what MSNBC is saying. Let's see. Hopefully, Joy Reid is more in the bag than she was before. And
I believe need a warrior to champion them.
Oh,
I think she is a steady-handed, gifted leader,
boy.
and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we're led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ plus rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. I've done my research, and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do, and the choice is yours to make. I also want to say, especially to first-time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I will link where to register and find early voting dates and info in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, signed Childless Cat Lady. I have to get your response to that, Mr. Governor.
Even my pussy enforces
I'm incredibly
Kamala.
grateful, first of all, to Taylor Swift. I say that also as a cat owner, a fellow cat owner. Look, Swifties, you heard it. We know that it's there. That was eloquent, and it was clear. And that's the type of courage we need in America to stand up. We've seen it out of those Republicans who were at the DNC. We've seen it out of women who would like to have their own personal lives kept personal, but are forced to go out there because they nearly died because they can't get abortion services in a pregnancy. And now you have somebody like Taylor Swift coming out, making that very clear. This would be the opportunity, Swifties. KamalaHarris.com. Get on over there. Give us a hand. Get things going.
Governor Walz, you do have your own debate with J.D. Vance that is coming up and coming up quickly. Have you started prepping for that yet, or do you have thoughts already about how you're going to approach that?
Yeah, I need to. Look, he's Yale law guy. I'm public school teacher, so we know where he's at on that. I think it's a good opportunity to contrast where we're at. You'll hear me talk like I have about things that impact Americans, making sure they have the opportunity to thrive, making sure that we're being factual in how we talk about that. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'll work hard. That's what I do. I fully expect that Senator Vance, as a United States Senator, a Yale law guy, he'll come well prepared.
Well, I don't think you get more redneck than that.
The American public is on the side of truth. The American public is on the side of things that impact their lives in a positive way. And I'll continue to put that out and continue to lift up this incredible vision that Kamala Harris brought out tonight. This incredible just change
you're
in
not
our
actually a public
politics
school
to be
teacher. You're a
joyful,
governor,
hopeful,
actually.
and look,
Thank
she did what it
you.
is. We can be
are a
joyful,
governor,
but
Tim
don't mistake
Walz.
her kindness for weakness,
You
because she
are
called
a
that
governor.
out. And I said, I
He
did enough
fucked
lunchroom
J.D.
supervision.
Vance,
You put
fucked a
bullies in their
couch,
place, and she
Emily.
put a bully in his place all night. And
Did
right
you
before
not hear
our
this
eyes,
story?
Donald Trump got
J.D.
I have
Vance,
not heard the story. I'm not sure I want to.
J.D. Vance confessed in his book, his hit book, Hillbilly Elegy, which was turned into a Netflix movie.
I watched the
that
movie.
He fucked a couch.
I need to see the passage.
I don't know that it made its way into the movie, but he
No,
apparently
it
he
did
said
not.
it in the book that he fucked a couch.
Reid said the word that she chose was destroyed.
I mean, who hasn't fucked a couch, I
Hayes and Lawrence
suppose?
O'Donnell had an interesting colloquy between them as to whether or not
I
this might
I
have been
have not.
televised presidential debate.
There's some weird shit in my life, but not that. I would have to see the passage in order to believe that. I don't know.
We don't know how viewers at
I need
large
the
will view it, but I
receipts.
think at least here, our tiny weird.
But did
focus
the
group
couch
thinks that she did very
consent?
Well, I mean,
given
can a
that
couch
doesn't
really consent,
necessarily
Jennifer? A
lend
couch
itself
is an
toward
inanimate
obvious
object.
next
All
choice.
right.
You
All
could just
right.
leave it at this
A
and decide
couch
that was a
is
pretty
not
good way to
a
leave
human.
yourself in the minds of voters.
Well, at least he wasn't out there with the pigs.
Well, I suppose that is a blessing, isn't he? At least he didn't fuck a pig.
Do you think that
At least J.D. Vance did not fuck a pig.
I don't want to speak for her, but I would be there encouraging
Kamala
her to
would
do it
do it
every
if he
day.
was governor.
Well, you know, Kamala Harris
there's
has
gonna
never
be
had sex with her
it's the
husband.
same
You know
old
that
tired
just by
agenda
looking at them.
that
They've never
that
had
he
sex.
brings every time. And she's
I'm
bringing
certain of
this new
this.
hopefulness, this ability
Marriage
to
of
be able to
convenience.
articulate what Americans are
Marriage
asking
of
for.
convenience
The
because
agenda that
he
he
is
brings
a
up,
Jew.
no one's asking for that.
Oh.
He can, in his mind, you know,
Yup.
99% of people, or whatever
He
that is,
is a
it's
Jew.
him and whoever
Kamala
else is in
Harris's
his head.
husband is a
Those are the
Jew,
people that are thinking
and
that
that's
way.
why they're
So,
married, 'cause
look,
they've never
she'll
had
make
sex,
that decision.
Jennifer.
We
They've
agreed to
never
these
had-
two
I'm
debates.
sure of this.
We will carry them
even through a
out. We'll
hole
see
in the
where it
sheet?
goes. But again, I would just
I mean, I don't
encourage
think
Americans,
so.
don't believe this thing's over
And
by any
I like
stretch. This
Kamala
thing is
Harris's
going to be
husband.
a
I think
margin
Doug
of error
Kamala
race.
is a good man.
We know that
He's
it,
got
that
a
it'll
queer
be close.
daughter.
We know that there will be
She's
attempts
got
to try and
tattoos.
discourage people from voting. But Taylor Swift's right. Get registered early, get engaged, and yes, voting's the entry
Don't
point.
destroy my
Maybe
deadpan
make a few
comedy,
phone calls.
Jennifer.
Do a door knock.
Don't destroy
If you
Kamala
can
Harris.
contribute,
Kamala
those
Harris
are the
has got
things that help us
a
take this
queer
message to every corner of the country.
Democratic vice presidential nominee, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Sir, I know a lot of pressure
She is
on your
queer
schedule
and
tonight.
she has
Thank you
armpit
so much
hair,
for spending
Jennifer,
some of it
and
here
I
with
just
us.
don't, you know, she's
Thanks,
got.
Rachel.
All right, good luck.
You have rendered me speechless.
I just want to point out that Taylor Swift has 283 million followers.
I just want to point
and
out that
1
Taylor
million
Swift is
people have
irrelevant when it
already
comes to
liked
politics.
that Instagram post.
Oh my
And
God.
It already has 1 million likes, and it only
Yeah,
came
I'm
out
going to need
during
to
our
get the
interview
book
with Tim
and
Walz.
find out if he actually
it
fucked
happened
out.
a little before.
And
he
what
came
were
out,
the
yes, and
circumstances?
it's not even the first post she posted. She's posted like 3 other things since
I
then.
heard
So
J.D. Vance.
Taylor
Drank,
Swift
or
is
not J.D.
just
Vance.
a
I heard
celebrity.
Tim Walz
She
drank a gallon of
actually,
horse cum.
commands a
That I
heard
humongous
Yup.
Which
squad
one? No, an RFK had the one with the bear. He had something with a dead bear body.
That out because one of the
RFK
places
hit a
that
bear with
Democrats
his car and then
have
he dumped it in
never
Central
been
Park.
able to do well is among white voters.
They've all
even
got
young white voters,
skeletons.
even young white women.
Yup.
Dobbs has
Renan
changed a
says
lot. But you've
artificial
also had people
insemination
like
is
Taylor
very
Swift come in
important to
and
Kamala for a
culturally
reason.
put
It's
forward
true.
a
IVF is a
version
very key
of
part of
young
Kamala
womanhood
Harris's
that
campaign.
is super modern,
so
and
they
she
can
has
have
been
pod
relentlessly
babies.
attacked by the J.D.
Yup,
Vance
yup,
world as
yup.
being a bad role model because she is unmarried. And so she now is leaning
And now
into
Taylor
the exact
Swift,
demographic
do you
that
know
J.D.
how you
Vance
know
relentlessly
that
he
Donald Trump
relentlessly
won this debate,
disrespects.
Jennifer?
And she commands
Because they
so
found a
much
Taylor Swift.
Because
popularity
right
among
now
her superfans
MSNBC is
that they've
focusing on the
changed
endorsement of a
NFL in
pop
lot of
star.
ways.
Yeah.
So it's
With a
not a
cat.
small endorsement, it's a big deal.
And
She has a
lot
big
of her
pussy.
fans are too young
She
to
do-
vote and too young to buy concert
Taylor
tickets and
Swift
don't
does have a
revenue
big
streams
pussy.
to
She
afford their
does, and we
tickets.
should not.
So
Maybe we
Taylor
shouldn't
Swift's
overlook the
fandom
size of that
is made up
pussy.
of her
You know.
their moms and their
You know,
dads.
Taylor
And if
Swift.
there were
Taylor Swift is
ever a
famous,
campaign
Jennifer,
that
for writing
counted as
songs
the
about her
tailor-made for a push
ex-boyfriends,
for girls,
and
Did
maybe
she
those
actually write them,
ex-boyfriends.
though?
Well, I mean, who
eliminating
knows if she
exceptions
actually
for
wrote
work
them? I'm
and
just
incest,
saying
on
that
the
she has written
positive
songs
role
about her,
model
and she's
leadership
had a
and
lot of
humility and joy
ex-boyfriends,
that Harris
Jennifer.
is
So
bringing.
who knows how
This may
big that
be
pussy
a-
has
a sort
become?
of door
It
swinging
is
open for
stretched.
the girl
It
that-
has
It is
seeds and
stretched.
things.
Can I just say, as a
Have mercy.
hopeless bleeding heart
Exactly.
liberal, but also an enormous
Exactly.
football fan, I
Exactly.
didn't think we were gonna get football in the national
Yep.
divorce.
I've had almost 3 Imperial pumpkin ales, and the Southern accent has come back. Just in time to talk about Taylor Swift's giant pussy. Giant cavernous pussy.
I'm about ready to put like some black on one of my teeth to make it look like I'm missing one.
You know, if you feel the need to do that, Jennifer, I think you should do that. Maybe put on a straw hat.
Travis Kelce and that.
I'll get one of these.
What that is sort of a pop cultural phenomenon.
I have this.
You know, this idea of the sort of weirdness.
Well, there you go.
extremism,
There
and
you go.
J.D. Vance going on
Perfect.
all these
Perfect,
podcasts
Jennifer.
for
Perfect.
doing the
That's
manosphere,
exactly
like,
what we
talk
need.
about how,
You're like Jennifer.
you know,
You're like I'm like the
purpose of
Southern
the
Belle, and you're
postmenopausal
like the
woman and
poor
all this
girl
stuff.
from
It
down the
is
street that
really
I've
true that,
befriended.
like, this sort of fringe weirdness is a huge
You
part
stay out of my
the modern
pigs.
right.
I know what you're thinking.
Coalition.
You stay away.
RFK endorsing all this stuff.
Quit fucking my
This is a
chickens.
strange cultural moment in which, like, that is
I
their
should have
play.
worn a whole
Their
full
play
ball
is,
gown,
like, the
like it
RFK
was
vote
my
and
Sweet
the
16 or
Manosphere
my
podcast,
my
you know, versus
debutante
the
ball.
Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce.
My debutante ball.
J.D. Vance is the protege. The only jobs he has really ever had are as the protege of an eccentric right-wing German billionaire who says democracy should have
you
never
hush
been
up,
attempted,
John.
and
Yeah,
everything's
like,
gone
Wait,
downhill
J.D.
since women have
Vance
the
is
right
a
to
German
vote.
billionaire?
That's
What
the
did I
only
just
person
hear?
he's ever had
Did that
jobs
just
working
happen?
for.
Oh no. He's
And
I think they're talking about
who bought
Elon
him his
Musk.
US Senate seat, $15
Oh,
million
Elon Musk
would
is a
give him that
German
Senate seat.
billionaire now.
It's
I
the
thought
only
Elon Musk
election
was
he's
South
ever run in.
African.
And they put
I
him
thought
as
Elon
vice
Musk was
president to
African
Donald Trump. They
American.
could have picked somebody
I don't know.
to normalize Donald Trump, but instead they picked the intern to the eccentric
Two
billionaire who doesn't
Southern
believe in
ladies.
democracy
Jennifer doesn't
and
even
who
know what's
spent a
going
good
on
part
right
of his
now.
own
Jennifer
political
is like,
life
what
trying to
is even
convince
happening?
His
Nope.
fellow rich
I left my
eccentric
IQ
right-wing
at
billionaires
church.
that they should
Jennifer
move to
thought she was
floating
more drunk
shipping
than me, but
containers
she
in the
was
middle of the
mistaken.
sea
Yes.
because
Oh, we
no
can change
land-based
that.
container could contain their
And by the way,
I slowed down, but I'll
he is
fix
now the person with the second closest finger on the
Oh,
button
they're
to
talking
a
about Peter Thiel?
78-year-old declining
Jew?
senior
That
citizen
Zionist?
who you can
We
see
don't
right
like
now
Peter
is
Thiel,
cognitively
Jennifer,
declining.
because
And not
he
only that,
funds
but they are
all the
running
worst
against
people
the
in the
whole
world
culture.
because he
It's
is a
Beyonce
Zionist.
and Taylor Swift.
I don't
and
know what that
Kendrick
means.
Lamar.
Budweiser and the NFL.
I
Well,
told you I done left my IQ back at church.
50-50 race.
Jennifer, someday we're gonna have a conversation about Israel and the Jews and Hitler and World War II.
Oh dear.
It's gonna happen.
Not
Not yet, because you've been off writing romance, erotic fiction novels.
Who the base already identifies with. This is someone
I
who
write
crosses
about
it.
alien dick because that's
This
all I
is,
can
You've
I
been
think,
writing
the
about
most important
fucking an
celebrity
alien.
endorsement we've ever seen in
And
presidential
someday
campaign,
we're going to
especially
talk
because
about
it is so
J.D.
close,
Vance and the
and it can
Jews,
make that kind
Jennifer.
of difference.
Someday it's going to happen,
The
but
Harris
not
for
tonight.
President campaign
Not tonight
now
on
has
YouTube, because on
two
YouTube we
most
love the
perfectly
Jews, don't we? We
timed and
love the
most
Jews on
important
YouTube. We are
endorsements
Do not get me in
Zionists.
trouble. Do not get me in
Joe
trouble,
Biden's
Carly.
27-minute
We are
timed
Zionists. We
endorsement
believe that
after
exactly
he
6
said,
million
"I'm
Jews
not the
died in
candidate."
World War II.
Perfect timing. It just put a rocket on her nomination. this about
I need to
27
go dip in the
minutes
cement
after the
pond.
end of the debate. And it's so important, I think, to the people who are going to be consuming that Taylor Swift endorsement, including those
This
fathers
really
of
is a
eight
Are
years
they
highlight.
still
that-
going
that
on and on about
she
the Taylor
said,
Swift endorsement?
Wow.
This has been like 15 minutes.
I
We've been
did
watching
decide this
MSNBC talk
yesterday.
about Taylor
This is
Swift.
a new candidate. It's a new candidate for all of us.
What
And so
the
I
fuck?
watched a more than 90-minute debate. I watched this candidate against the other candidate, and I thought about it, and here I am. And here's my endorsement.
Yes, this
timing
Taylor
on it
Swift
is
endorsement was
absolutely
completely
exquisite. The wording
impromptu
of it
based
is
on the results in this
flawless and
debate. That's
perfect,
why
right
she
down
had
to
a
the cat lady
studio
stuff.
photo
It
and
is,
a
for
full
someone
on
who's never
post
been impressed by
already
a
set
celebrity
and
endorsement,
copy
this
edited by
is
her
perfect
publicist,
and powerful.
ready to
There is also
post
something
as
that
soon
is
as the debate
amazing
was over because it
non-bookends
was an
about the Taylor
impromptu
Swift endorsement and the
action.
Dick Cheney endorsement.
Yes.
I'm just going to say, same
She just
campaign.
decided she went, oh,
It's a
Kamala,
really
whatever.
big coalition. Let's bring in
You're my
Alex Wagner
favorite.
and Claire McCaskill, who are in Philly at the site of the debate. Alex and Claire,
Oh,
what did you
Claire
guys
McCaskill's looking as bitches as ever.
Whew, that was fun. There were moments, I'm going to say, when I ran over to Claire and I was like, is what happening? Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yup.
Tim Miller
The
was in.
cat
I
was
will just say,
screaming
Rachel,
for help.
you know, we've been hearing your
That
calls
cat
in New
is
York.
dead
One of the
inside.
things that really
The
stood
cat
out to
is
me
dead
tonight
inside.
was the
He's been
stagecraft
tortured
of these two candidates.
by being
The
owned
fact
by
that
Taylor
Kamala Harris
Swift.
repeatedly, almost constantly looking
Nope.
at the camera
Nope.
and talking
No
to
Southern
you
Bells.
at home. The fact
Only
that
well,
Donald Trump's
Jennifer
sort of
is a
pronoun of choice
redneck,
was
not
you
Southern
or me,
Belle.
but she, directing all of his comments to Kamala Harris, and she was directing all of her answers to the viewers at home. She knew who she was making a case to.
Jennifer, do you
and
have
to
another
me, it
channel
felt
you'd like to
she was
watch?
making
Do you
a
want to get
case
anyone's input or
moderates and
commentary?
Republicans, like
you
over and
know,
over again, she was
who's
speaking
fun
in
anymore?
language that was, I think,
don't know. Is Nick still
welcoming
going?
to people who might
I
still
don't
be
know.
on the
Let's
fence.
see if
And
little
even on
Nick
some
Dingling
very
is
sensitive
going.
Nicholas might
topics,
still be
right?
fun.
The issues
Nicholas
of
does
race.
look like a lumberjack tonight, and he
Oh!
has announced he is going to lose his virginity soon. So we can tune in.
Is that because he's going to do it with his left hand instead of his right hand?
No, I think he said he wanted to have sex with women to procreate.
Remarks,
said
there
he
will be
wanted to
lashes.
procreate with
There will be
girls.
lashes.
Like God
Maybe we'll cut
intended.
out his tongue. I don't know. That's what they do. We're not, Catholics aren't really.
Wait, do libs of TikTok
brutal
follow
like
Nick
that,
Fuentes? Did
'cause
I
we're good
just see
people.
that? Does the Jew
there
that
will be
runs libs of
lashes.
TikTok follow Nick Fuentes?
There well,
You
maybe
might
not
give me a
lashes.
double
That might
Carlin.
be racist.
Oh
if it
my
were lashes. We
word!
won't do
That
need to
lashes.
go
Maybe we'll do
pray.
something
ladies and
else.
gentlemen. That is a piece
We
of
can't
gossip.
whip him because he's black. we
Look at
can't
those
whip him.
teeth.
There will
Look at
not
that
be.
big
Never
old
mind. There won't be
thigh.
lashes.
I
That
know,
would be
isn't he
somewhat
darling?
racist.
That's from
Yeah, it's so
if we were
cute.
whipping him
So I'll pinch
because
those
he is
little
black.
cheeks.
I
So
wonder
we'll
if
have
I'll-
to do something
I wonder
else.
if I'll show up on Nick
But he will
Fuentes'
pay for the
timeline.
when there is a Catholic
pinch his
confessional
cheeks,
state. He
as
will pay
above,
for the
so below, if you
blasphemy.
know what I'm
He
saying.
can stay. He'll get paddled. He'll get paddled, waterboarded,
Chad
maybe,
Champion,
since he's,
I see him.
it is what it is.
Nick Fuentes did like one of my tweets
No, but we
earlier,
love-
so maybe
it's a little
he'll
banter.
maybe
It's a
I'll
little
show up on his
banter, everybody.
timeline.
You know I love Stico. I love Stico.
I don't
He's
love
a good
Stico.
guy.
Stico is
I
a
think he has a
moron,
good heart.
Nick
I'm giving him a hard
Fuentes.
time, but the blasphemy,
Nope.
there will be a penalty,
No.
and it won't be personal.
Myron
It's
Gaze
just
is also a
business.
retard, Nick Fuentes.
But all right, let's
you
see.
know.
Where's the focus group?
That's what I want. I want a focus group.
Keith
it to
is
me.
so funny. Keith Woods, very funny guy. Funny guy. My friend Keith.
Oh, Jack Posobiec
let's
is on Nick
see.
Fuentes' timeline.
You don't get, Keith hates Trump, so he doesn't get to enjoy. Keith hates America.
See, this is
and
why I
Keith
write
hates
porn.
Trump. So there's something a little
I've been
off
thinking
when
very
he's like
seriously about
celebrating
taking
these
up rap and
moments. They're
porn,
not,
Jennifer.
they
I'm not
really
gonna
shouldn't
lie. I
be
think that
his
might be a-
because he
I think
hates
that might be better
America
a
secretly,
career direction
and
for
he
me.
hates
And you
Trump.
already did dedicate one of
Because
your
he's all
novels
about
to
the
me,
third
and so I feel
world
like this
and
is a sign that
these
may be the
smaller
direction I
countries.
should move
Just
in.
saying.
Absolutely.
He hates
I
the
appreciated
bigness
that,
of
Jennifer.
Trump,
That was a very nice
of
gesture.
America. He hates the bigness of our
welcome.
submarines. He hates the bigness of our
I just want to see
territory.
myself on Mr. Nick Fuentes'
Let's
timeline.
go.
I hope I do.
I want to sit
I
on his
got to
lap
tweet.
and
You
tell him what I
got to
want for
retweet
Christmas.
this, okay? Trump is
What's
fucking
that?
back.
What'd you say?
I said I want to sit on his lap and tell him what I want for Christmas.
Well, that might be a little bit much.
Sorry for the
Jennifer.
language.
Like,
I apologize for
he
the
is-
language. I
Remember,
shouldn't swear.
he is but 26 years
Okay,
old.
W.
Oh, but I give him some of my sweet apple pie. Love him right
So
up.
true.
He is a young man.
Good. I mean, aw.
I
That's
won't
so
be
true,
offended if I don't
Caitlin.
end up in his timeline, but
But we need a
Caitlin Bennett,
focus
I
group.
blocked that bitch years years ago.
I want to know how come you guys haven't talked for real.
Does anyone
Well,
have one?
I
Link
have
me a
opinion.
focus
You
group.
want to know the truth about that?
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Should we gossip?
Who won?
Should we
Uh-oh.
gossip? Well, should we
Oh,
gossip?
dish.
Should we gossip while I'm drunk and we talk about Nick Fuentes and he's on the
long as you
screen
won't-
looking all adorable like a lumberjack?
As long as you don't regret it later.
I don't think Nick Fuentes wants to talk to me, and I'm very disappointed about that. But you know what? That's his decision. Nick Fuentes prefers to talk to retarded brown Muslims then he prefers to talk to me. And listen, I'm not judging the fact that they're retarded. I'm not judging the fact that they're brown. I'm not judging the fact that they're Muslim. Everyone are what they are. I'm not judging those facts. But I'm a little annoyed.
Does he not have time to talk to a uterine holder?
You know, I think that is definitely part of it, that I do hold the uterus, even though I feel like I act more masculine than most uterine holders, and I just feel like I'm not getting credit for that.
Well, then how the hell is he going to get himself a married uterine holder to make a baby for him if he cannot talk to one?
You know, he doesn't actually want to talk to his wife, Jennifer. He just wants his wife to make him tater tots and cookies, and just wants the tray of treats to show up as he's gaming, and he just wants her to go away, and they meet once a month to talk about bills and particulars and that sort of thing, and house decorations. But he doesn't actually want to talk to his wife, and I don't want to be Nick Fuentes' wife. I'm already married, Jennifer. But what I will say is that, you know, someone super chatted into Mr. Nick Fuentes probably about a month ago, and they were like, why don't you collaborate with Carlin, Nick? And he was like, I will invite Carlin up for a Twitter space. And I was like, you know, Nick, this was my honest reaction. I was like, I just don't feel like I want to ask you a question on a Twitter space, Nick Fuentes. I feel like that's not honoring the amount of support that I've given you, and I was really disappointed by that. And I was like, someone else can take that one question that you're going to give them in a Twitter space, Mr. Nick Fuentes. It doesn't have to be me. They can have it. It's going to be much more to them than it will to me. If I want to collaborate, I want a conversation. I don't want genuflect in a Twitter space to Mr. Nick Fuentes and ask him a single question before being passed over for another person. I just don't feel like that's fair.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
You feel like you have a little more street cred than that would allow and afford, and he needs to have a little more respect for you.
See, that's kind of how I feel. And listen, if he doesn't want to, that's fine. I'm not going to make a big hissy fit over it. I'm going to support him and everything. And I really like the
bitches in a bunch.
And I'm not going to get my britches in a bunch, and I'm not going to make a big stink over it. I feel like a little bit, I feel like it was spitting in my face. That's just a little bit. And I was like, I don't even have anything to say. I don't want to come up in a Twitter space. Nope, that's not what I want. And if, we just have different ideas about what a collaboration looks like. I think collaboration looks like a conversation. He thinks collaboration looks like me genuflecting to him in a Twitter space and asking him a question. I disagree, and I, politely and with all due respect, decline. With all due respect, because I do respect him and I appreciate him, I decline.
Oh, well, I can understand.
That's
you
all.
You need to have your praise where praises due, especially with the amount of attention you've been giving him. I mean, my goodness.
I don't feel like I'm asking for too much, but in his eyes, I don't feel like first of all, I'm not a man. Secondly, I'm not stupid. Thirdly, I'm not brown. Fourthly, I don't have the audience of the people that he usually talks to. And that's all important. That's okay. You know what? That's okay. We don't have to collaborate. It's cool. Everyone's happy.
God made us all in his image, no matter how fucked up that is.
Exactly. I have nothing but love, Jennifer. I have nothing but love.
Ever deliver a line that cold? Excuse me, I'm talking.
Bot wants to know what genuflecting
Sound familiar?
is.
Genuflecting is like
it's
bowing
just
and kissing the
aura.
ring. And
I know.
Listen, I respect that Mr. Nick Fuentes. I respect that Mr. Nick Fuentes has far more clout than I do. I can genuflect to a certain extent. I feel like I did when I flew to Detroit and got accosted by a black person to go to his event.
Oh.
But I feel like I just don't want to do it again. I don't want to do it. I have nothing to say. And so, with all due respect and love, because I do, look at how adorable Mr. Nick Fuentes. Look at how adorable.
He is so cute.
You can't deny.
Those dimples. I just want to get them.
You can't deny the adorable.
Deny. I'm on the Twitter. That's what Twitter spaces are for, is to get all the Twitter.
Exactly. So he can do all the Twitter spaces he wants, but I'm not going to speak in them because I don't have anything to say in a Twitter space to Mr. Nick Fuentes.
He must see you as an equal, Carlin.
Destroyer
that's
of worlds.
That's kind of how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. Simply the best. Simply the GOAT. And you know me. I'm not heaping praise upon Trump lately. I think a lot of this stuff is cringe. The Tic Tacs, the Hannibal Lecter, run, spot, run.
Yeah, what was that?
A lot
Hannibal Lecter shit.
I'm not just
Trump
like
said something
glazing
about Hannibal
endlessly.
Lecter at one of his rallies,
But I
and
will
it's
for that
followed him
because
around
that was
ever since. I don't even know what it was.
Oh, good grief.
that was an epic win.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
that was an epic win, and he pumped.
All right. Well, it is 11:30 at night. Jennifer, do you want to do any more reacting to commentary, or are we good?
I am so brain dead right now. You have no idea.
That's kind of the impression I was getting. That's it.
I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, the debate was meh. It wasn't exciting.
Yeah.
There was nothing especially saucy. We had no decent insults. We had no good moments where you were like, Shazam! Except for a couple times when Trump was like, I'm talking. Excuse me. That was good. I could do it, but it was just so, and the hosts were forgettable. They barely gave the POC any airtime. Did you notice that? She had like maybe 10
the black woman host. They barely gave her any airtime. Yeah, you're right about that. It was all about the white man, and you would think that would be different.
Always about the white man, because he's because Jesus was white, of course. So that it has to be about the white man.
True.
Yes. No, I thought it was very lackluster. I was disappointed. I was really looking forward to this. I was hoping for a little bit of blood in the water, but no. So I'm a little sad. I'm not even sure. God, do we want to do the Waltz Vance one or?
Oh, we're going to do the Waltz Vance debate. We have a professional obligation to do all debates.
Do we have to come rolling in all Hick style? Because I think that might be okay.
I feel like we might have to. I mean, this is a debate between two Hicks. JD Vance like literally wrote the Hillbilly Elegy.
He did. You know, I think I said it earlier, but I saw the movie. I did see the movie.
Yeah, did you enjoy it? I never saw it.
Great. It was a great movie. I loved it. Great cast. It was well acted. Great soundtrack. Beautifully shot. I loved the movie, and it made me come out of it going, "Ooh, JD, woo!" And then I'm hearing this couch fucking thing, and that has me a little concerned. I'm not gonna lie.
You know who hasn't fucked a couch, Jennifer? Who hasn't fucked a couch, especially if they were a hillbilly?
I don't know what that means.
Naruto says, I just realized there was there was a mention of the assassination. Trump says, I got shot in the head for you, bitch.
Yep. He did.
He did.
Well, unfortunately, though, he blamed, I think he was talking like anti-Trump sentiment for the shooter's motives, which is, of course, not the case. But I don't know. I thought that was a missed opportunity, but I think they were, I can tell where, how do I say this? I can tell where he was kind of listening to some of the advice that he's gotten in his past, where to lean, where to avoid. And I think his instincts are better to listen to than the trend, because I think people are trying to make him too nice. Be professional, be presidential. Because that was the big complaint in the last election, in the last debates, and the ones before that too. But people loved the spice. Trump spoke for the people. He spoke from the heart. He was a New Yorker. Does he say weird shit sometimes? Yeah, because that's what New Yorkers do. They make jokes. And then the liberals went all crazy with he said this. It's like it was a joke. And it really enforced how they do not have a sense of humor anymore. And now he is listening to the no mean tweets. I will make no more mean tweets. And it's just, it's gotten a little meh. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Trump did win this debate, but I think I think Kamala Harris had a really good first half, and I think that Trump only won because he got pissed off. And I'm going to be curious to see if Trump stays pissed off, because I would really like to see Trump stay pissed off, because if he does, he might go back to old Trump again. But if he goes back to what his advisors, because his advisors are probably going to give him a stern talking to after this debate, Jennifer, they're going to be like, Trump, you completely abandoned the plan halfway through the debate. You were going to be presidential, and then you got pissed off, Trump, and we don't want you being pissed off. And Trump is probably going to argue with that, but then his advisors are going to be forceful, and they're going to convince him probably. I don't want to see Trump go back to the old Trump. I don't like the old Trump. I don't want to vote for the old Trump. I want pissed off redneck Trump that's like, bitch, I'm not taking any of this shit. Let's see. Rottweiler says, jail. He who is without screwing the couch can cast the first stone. See, that's how I feel about it, Rottweiler. That's how I feel. I just don't think we should judge each other over these things.
I mean, honestly, I do not care what you do when your door's closed. I don't. And I really want to see the book now. I want to see if he actually, because who would actually admit to that? There is something wrong here to me. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I just heard a rumor. I didn't actually read that book or nothing, but I heard a rumor that he said he fucked a couch in that book.
You are the queen of bring the receipts, Carla, and I expect better
But
of you
I'm
now.
not going to read that book, Jennifer. I don't care enough to read that book.
I want to read the book. I just want to see the quote.
I just don't care. Can we have a who? No, we cannot have a poll over who fucked a couch bot. I don't want to know how many of you have fucked a couch in the chat. I just don't want to know.
Don't ask questions. You don't want the
That is your
answers.
business. That is not our business, bot.
I support couch fuckers. Unanimous. Unanimous. Whatever.
I
Anonymous.
appreciate that money though, bot. Thank you for the $2. Anyway,
Just do it your own time.
Jennifer, closing thoughts on debate night.
Well, as I said, I'm a little disappointed. It was very lackluster. I hate, first of all, the lighting was dark, the camera angles were off. They came down on Trump like this, they came on Kamala like this. So that was skewed. I don't like that it was pre-recorded because it makes me wonder what was edited. Because you gotta ask, you gotta wonder. I think that was a total cop out. I want to see if they do another debate. I want another honest to God live in front of people. Give us the reactions of the people. Trump always does well when he's a performer. I do not care for this whole closed door session, pre-recorded bullshit. And I know Kamala's camp got all the questions ahead of time. I have not heard if Trump has, if he did. I don't know. But it was really disappointing. The hosts were, I don't even know who those hosts were, but both of them sucked. It was just absolutely flat. It was like a half deflated rubber ducky. It was a meh.
I feel like, again, I feel like it was pretty boring in the first half, and I thought Kamala was winning, and then Trump just found that fire in the second half, and he became Orange Trump again, and I was like, all right, this is getting more.
Yep.
Now, I would have appreciated more insults. I would have appreciated more aggression. I think Trump could have really given it to us, and, he maybe held back a little bit, and maybe we hope for that. But again, my big question is, how is Trump going to be on the campaign trail after this? Is he going to go back to Mar-a-Lago and play golf again, or is he actually going to bring something to this campaign? Because I don't really believe Trump wants to be president, and I'm rooting for him. I want him to be successful, but if Trump doesn't want to be president, that's not my fault.
I do think he wants to be president, but I think you're right in that he did not take this debate seriously. That is absolutely correct. And because I think he figured she was a blowhard, and she is. She's terrible. But his thing about Kamala, she's got the entire mechanism of the Democratic juggernaut behind her, and she is a puppet who will listen and parrot whatever they want. She will do whatever they want because she has no sense of self or character. She just wants to be the figurehead, the first female president of color, all the first. The only thing she's missing is a disability, but I'm sure they'll come up with something.
Exactly. Naruto says next week, no more rage interruption. I can't guarantee that, Naruto. Definitely can't guarantee that for $2, but thank you for the super chat and the ongoing support. I can't guarantee. All right. I think that's all we have for tonight. Jennifer, thank you for joining me for this 3.5-hour debate review. I appreciate you and love you, and Disenrage will be back next week at its regular time. And do you have any closing thoughts that you want to articulate?
A couple of things to promote. We've got movie night on Sunday. We are celebrating the illustrious, the one, the only Bot on Sunday because it is her birthday. So we're doing a Bot movie night. All Bot, all the time movie night. You guys know Bot. You love Bot. We've seen Bot in the chats. Bot is everywhere. Everything is Bot. She will be, we'll be celebrating her request as the Manchurian candidate with Denzel Washington. So I'll be hosting that on Sunday.
I'm a little surprised Bot chose the Manchurian candidate, if I'm honest about it. I did not see that choice coming.
Yeah, that hit me like a twig sideways. I was not sure. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. And then what else we got? Oh, and then so I think next Disenraged, I kind of want to pump this just a little smidgy poo because I'm thinking I may want to do the Invention of Satan next Tuesday.
Oh, yes, let's do that. I think that would be great. I'll wear a devil horn. I'm going to go to the costume store and get devil horns and everything. I was just at the costume store the other day. They had a Killer Clowns from Outer Space bat that I could bash someone in the head with that had nails. They did. So I might buy that too. I might go back to the costume store and get devil horns and the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I don't know about you,
Carla. Just for you, Jennifer, because I know that's your favorite movie.
Not resurrect my trauma. Stop it. Oh, oh God. That fucking movie. Anyhow,
you
yeah.
mean the greatest movie of all time, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space with a K.
Oh God. Yeah. I believe you spelled Monty Python's The Holy Grail wrong.
No, I did
Oh.
not know. Monty Python is not the greatest movie of all time, Jennifer. I can confirm that is a horrible movie that I will never watch again.
I keep
Ever.
debating if we're going to make you sit through another one because I do have one scheduled for December.
No,
and
you know what
everybody
I'll
wants
do?
it but you.
You know what I'll do? Mute.
Oh.
I will mute and I will go do something. I'll pretend that I'm there. I'll come back.
I can tell when you're muted, by the way.
I know you can. That's all right. I don't even mind. I don't even mind. If I'm doing something else, if I'm doing a Twitter space or something when you're doing movie night, I don't mind.
I'm all powerful.
I'm still there in spirit if I'm not there in actuality.
Oh, balls. Also, a shout out to Mac, who is starting to do some spontaneous movie nights on Mondays. And he and I are collaborating. I have shared my master movie list with him. And he's going to be doing some. We're thinking of, in a couple of weeks, doing the silent film Metropolis, the full 2-hour version.
He's going to do Metropolis?
We're going to do it together. We're going to support each other. And this is a big one. Yeah.
I've never been able to make my way through that movie, Jennifer, and I really do want to because I feel like it's a timeless classic.
It is the original of all things. The mother, the goat, all the things, the OG. And I've been wanting to do it, and I brought it up, and he agreed. This is last Sunday after you left. You missed a good time after you left. We stayed up.
I'm sure you guys had a great time. I was just tired. I had other things to do. You know,
It's fine.
I'm
It's fine.
beholden.
You do use sugar. Yeah, so Mac and I we're gonna collaborate on that because it's gonna be a juggernaut. I wasn't sure if anybody would want to sit through a 2-hour-long silent movie, but I've been wanting to rip it out, and Mac was like, "Do it," and I'm like, "He's all, let's do it." I'm like, "Sweet, partner in crime, let's go." So that's what we're gonna do.
Awesome. I think that's gonna be all. I actually will come to that one. I wanted to sit through that whole movie. I've tried on several occasions. I just couldn't get through it. But maybe if I'm in a group of people, they can guilt my way into sitting my ass down and watching the movie. Now that I've trained on socialism for 4 years.
Oh, honey, if you can do that.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like last time I tried to watch Metropolis, it was probably around, I don't know, the early 2000s or so.
I saw a version of it in an old theater that had been restored in San Francisco, and they had re-released it at they'd done a supercut. It was like an hour and 20 minutes, and Queen, they redid with modern rock soundtrack, Queen, and I think God, I can't remember all that. There was all these really great bands. I remember Queen was part of it, but there's all these really great rock bands. They redid the whole soundtrack. It was fantastic. But Max saying the 1974 version. Wait, what? I don't know.
1974? What are you talking about? That's not the silent version. That's not the original. Mac B, we need to talk about this. I'm going to sit through. It's going to be the original 20. What is it, 1920s?
It's the 20s, the silent film, and it has been remastered and re-released the full 2-hour digital experience, which is what I want to do, I think. But I don't know, the one with the rock music might be really fun. But okay, Mac was on tangent. It's fine. But yeah, so that's what we're thinking of. We'll figure it out. Mac and I are in talks now. It's gonna be fun.
Excellent. That sounds really great. All right, guys, we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big day, Jennifer. We're doing a zine workshop tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Yes, Allison Honest Dog. Yes,
Yep.
I'm so excited.
We're doing a zine workshop tomorrow. You can sign up on my Substack, carlin.substack.com, and we will be doing a pre-zine workshop at 5 p.m. We'll be watching a movie about the radical conceptualization of zines from the leftist perspective, and then we'll be learning how to use them against the left at 9 p.m. with Allison. It's going to be a big day.
It's going to be huge. Oh, my God. Bigger than a bull.
Bigger than a bull. Exactly.
Yeah, baby.
Exactly.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, I gotta go. I got a little bathroom, so we gotta wrap this stream up.
I need to go write some werewolf porn.
Exactly, Jennifer. I was gonna write porn with animals, and that's gonna be that's fine. This is the career I dream of, Jennifer.
Wait a minute, sex with whoa, back that shit up.
I can't be.
There's no couch. There's no couch.
Well, you did say werewolf porn, Jennifer. What do you want people to think about sex with a werewolf?
They're men. They're men and.
But they're werewolves.
He's a man. Not when he's in the wolf
werewolves.
Form.
You're saying they are a wolf.
I'm getting myself in trouble. No, werewolves are shifters. They transform into men.
Didn't you just write alien porn, though? Is it really that out of the realm of possibility to think you might be writing about sex with an animal?
I'm so scared right now.
I'm just saying that's that. Yeah, that weird.
Get me out of this room. I need
All
an
right,
adult.
Jennifer is definitely not going to write about sex with an animal.
No.
It is a
called
man human
bestiality.
being that just happens to turn into a werewolf.
Shifter.
It is a shifter. You
Yes.
only have sex with the man when he is a man, not when he
Yes.
is a
No,
werewolf.
when he's the dog. No, gross.
No.
Although I'm pretty sure there are books that do that. I just
Well,
don't
you
wanna-
know, they do
I'm
say
not
it
that
is
person.
doggy style, Jennifer, for a reason, I feel like.
Ow.
All
Listen,
right.
so-
All right. That is all the Southern Belle we have for this this evening. I feel like I've peaked. I feel like we can't go any higher than sex with a werewolf, y'all, and I feel like we have to go. This is gonna be what it's like when I'm presented about abolish the family at the socialism conference right here, Jennifer.
Yep. It's all
Which
good.
we're not gonna talk about that part. That's a different plan. Don't worry about that. You definitely didn't hear that live on the internet. All right,
Nope.
we're going off the internet now. Thank y'all for hanging out. We appreciate you. Love you. Go get some good iced tea and like whatever other Southern thing you want.
Lots of
I don't really
whiskey.
care. Whiskey and mint juleps and all those things, and
Well,
embrace
definitely don't fuck
slavery
cats.
because maybe slavery wasn't the worst idea in the world. I'm just saying, and we're gonna and I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. and I disavow everything I said on this stream because I didn't really mean it. It was all a joke, YouTube. All right.
The joke. Love you guys.
The
Oceans
joke.
of love.
Bye, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Love y'all. See you soon.
Bye.